Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. This is episode 137. I am Steve Crane. I'm joined by Nate Hale this week, and we have a special guest in the green room, I guess you could call it, backstage, and we'll introduce him very, very shortly. I do want to thank our sponsors every week for this year. We've got Tinder Box at Easton. They are providing us with the Kicks Capa Especial, which is a featured cigar. Also, Altadis USA, who has, what do we have here? Oh, Upman, Nicaragua again. We never got to that last week, so brought that back. So Altadis USA, Josh Bentley, thank you for the support. He was on just recently, and we are always happy to feature their products. We appreciate that. BS Cigar Company as well. The gold and silver are available. The gold is all Plasencia tobacco, and the silver is made by Espinosa and La Zona factory. So check those out. Fantastic cigars, all Nicaraguan, BS Cigar Companies. And you can find the links or reach out to us to find Tinder Box at Easton, any of the Altadis products, and also BS Cigar Company. And then, of course, you guys, I do want to thank everyone that does the patreon.com. We had a new patron last week, so we appreciate that. There are tiers, $5, $10, and $25. You guys get T-shirts. I'm going to be mailing out some here shortly. The weeks have been getting away from me, and I apologize, but I want to get it out this month before it's over. So hopefully by the end of this week, to the handful of people that are expecting T-shirts that Nate is wearing. I'm not wearing it tonight. Pour one more, light up another. We'll figure this out together. I thought of that slogan, drunk one night, and I am happy with it. So hopefully you like the T-shirt.
It took you a while to remember it, too.
I keep forgetting. Anyways,
you have that wisdom when you're drunk and then you sober up and you're like,
why I drink so much. Let's bring on our special guest here. Tripp, what's going on?
Hey guys, what's up?
We have nothing, just talking about drinking. Speaking of which, before we get too far into, because we've done this recently where we get caught up in conversation and we're like I'm staring at these whiskeys and we go too long without sampling something in the glass. So
last week we went 9 minutes.
Tripp, you are with Barrell Craft Spirits.
That's correct.
We have some, what is it? We have the Barrell Bourbon, Barrell Rye, and Barrell Dovetail, which I'm really interested to learn more about. But before the show, you said we wanted to start with the Barrell Bourbon. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, and what you have there is our Barrell Bourbon Batch 24, which is a blend of 9, 10, 13, and 15-year-old bourbons.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's we'll get to tasting this bourbon, and then I'll tell you a little bit about sort of how it all came together and why we do what we do and how we're different from everyone else.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I mean, before we dive into that bourbon, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about how you got into this, or if you want to, I guess we can pour this and.
Well, you guys drink and I'll talk. How's that?
That's my favorite way to do this.
He's a great guest.
So I've been in the bourbon business 16 years. Well, gosh, almost 17 years now. And my background's in biochemistry, molecular biology. I started right out of school working for Brown Forman.
Just fine.
Yeah, as a research and development scientist. Spent 9 years with them. Started a consultant company. Kind of wanted to go a different direction. And I've worked with distilleries all over the country and even up in Canada. Spent some time.
What distillery up in Canada?
I'd rather not say, if that's all right.
Fair. That's fair, yeah. You don't have to answer anything that I ask you, honestly. That's the way this works.
That's why I like to get this out up front, because if I've had a few drinks, then who knows? It's all ends up on the table.
Perfect.
But no, I was doing a distillery here in Kentucky, and Joe Beatrice, the gentleman who started this company, needed some contract bottling, and so I worked with Joe to provide the bottling. And through conversation, we kind of saw the industry and a lot of the world through the same lens as far as how to basically start and grow and move a bourbon brand forward. Yeah. And what really got me with Joe is that he said to me, I really wanted to build a distillery for about 30 minutes and then realized that that is not the way to go. And
Right.
what struck me about that is that is something that most people don't see, because when you look at this as a business decision, when you build a facility that can do any kind of volume, you're looking at spending millions. It can be 1 million, it can be 50 million. It just depends on what you're trying to do. But no matter what you're doing, there's all this out-front overhead that you've got to put on the table and hope that you're going to make something that's going to be good enough that people are going to buy enough, $50, $80, $100 bottles of in order to put all these millions back in your bank account.
Absolutely.
And that's a big roll of the dice. And people do it. People are successful at it, but people also fail at it.
Yeah.
So the real value in this is the brand itself, and that's what Joe had already picked up on before I'd met him.
And when did he found this company?
The design work and everything was 2013, 2012, 2013. It started in 2013. We met in 2014 and have been working together in some capacity ever since.
Okay. And you said there is not, like, you didn't do a distillery?
No, we had planned. So basically the approach for us was, let's start a brand. Let's put excellent product in a bottle and do something that nobody else is doing, keep things fresh, constantly innovate. And then as the brand grows, the success of that brand will then generate the need for a distillery, a facility, something, depending on what you're doing. And then the success of that brand then not only justifies the need, but then also pays for that facility. And it's an organic growth that begins to pay for itself versus taking the big leap out of pocket and going all in. So that's what we've done. And through that, we were going to build a distillery. We had it all planned out, and there's still some things that we'd like to do sort of in that arena. But right now, we're so focused on blending and all the little projects we've got going now. The distillery it's kind of been backburnered for the time being.
No, it makes sense. And you said that this one here is, what are the years again of this?
9, 10, 13, and 15.
Jesus.
From Tennessee, Indiana, and Kentucky. It's insane.
Yeah, I know. The ages of that is ridiculous. And this is batch 24.
That's correct.
And you're on batch 25 on your website. Is that correct?
That's right. And actually, we just finished buttoning up batch 26 today.
Oh, congrats!
Thank you. That was had an early morning working on a couple of projects, and we wrapped up batch 26, and so that's headed to bottling here shortly and to a store near you.
And so once this is done, like once you're done with batch 24, like when this is, it's gone. Is that right?
It's probably on the shelf somewhere, but it's been completely allocated as far as we're concerned.
I got you. Is it in what states? Are you in Ohio? Can we find this here?
We are in 47 states, I believe.
Yeah.
And I hate that I don't have the answer to that question, but I can definitely find. I can't remember. There's only
all right. Yeah, because I want to know. I haven't seen it very much, honestly, on the shelf. So it's interesting. So with this barrel bourbon, you've got these incredible age statements that you're saying about the amount of years on the different blended whiskeys here. How different is 24 to 25 to 26? You guys reinventing every time, or are you trying to keep it somewhat consistent with the product, even though it is small batches?
So the goal behind the brand is to, everything is always different. Everything is cask strength. We're constantly innovating. So batch to batch variation is absolutely the goal. We're not trying to repeat anything. In fact, we're trying to go the other way, and in a lot of ways make it as different as we can. But there are still those core flavors that we like and we tend to gravitate back to. So you're going to find some piece of those in a lot of the batches.
Yeah.
But the goal is to make them different.
So, do you have a favorite batch so far?
I always I always say to that question, my favorite batch is the next one or the one I'm working on, just because we're always so focused right there. But I would say batch 9 was one of my favorites at the time. And at the time, it was our oldest release.
Yeah.
At 13 years old. Our BCS line, the 15-year-old BCS release that we did, was the 15-year-old version of the 13-year-old barrels in batch 9, and that was just phenomenal. That was Forbes Whiskey of the Year in 2018.
Oh, Jesus.
So, yeah, it was
quite the accolade.
We were humbled and proud for that one.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you should be. So why go after like all these older barrels to blend together for your whiskey? Rather, I mean, because what you said, 8, 9, 13, 15 in this. So I mean,
9, 10, 13, and 15.
9, 10, 13, 15. So why the super old barrels? Because I'm sure those super old ones are got to be pricier for you guys, which means it's going to be pricier for the consumer.
Well, all of our products are line priced. So we do everything in batches. So our batch 25 at a 5-year is going to be the same cost as the batch 24 at 9, 10, 13, and 15.
Okay.
And what our focus is what goes in that bottle. We're not selling an older spirit for more money because age drives value. I don't believe that age drives value. I believe that flavor and the experience is what drives value. And you can find those types of characteristics in 5-year bourbon as well as in the 10 and 15-year-old bourbons. So that's what we like to do, is take the different ages and those characteristics within those different ages and let them sort of play a part in sort of a symphony, if you will. It's the parts are pieces of a whole that is much greater.
Gotcha. Hey, I got a question actually from one of our viewers. One of the nice things about this, and for those that are listening on the audio only after the fact, every Wednesday night we do a live feed, and that's one of the nice features of this, is that you can actually talk to each other on the feed, and also you can ask questions, and hopefully we can get some of them answered. But Kevin Landers has a question. How much R&D do you put into each bottle? Do you do taste tests, or is it simply your palate that determines the final product?
It's a great question, Kevin. We literally start from square one every single time we have a release. So a larger box brand might have a bourbon that's 80 proof, that's 5 years old, and it's the same thing every single time, which means the bottle's the same, the label's the same, the bourbon's the same, and they're doing everything consistent every single time. And that's not an easy process. There's nothing to shake a stick at. But when we start a new product, we literally start from square one. So we're picking the barrels. Once we have the product, we're redesigning the labels. We're reproofing the labels. Everything start to finish is different. So there's a new cola for everything. We have to print individual labels for each of the batches we do. So we're trying to plan out 6 months to a year of everything we're going to do, because we have to find the barrels, bring the barrels in. We have to then blend the barrels in the lab. The lab is just Glencairn's wall to wall with stir plates and all this stuff that we use when we put blends together. And once we have something in the lab, now you got to do it in real time. So you've got to take what we've done in a Glencairn glass and blow it up into 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 gallons using barrels that you have selected based on samples, knowing that there is variation within all of those barrels. So if there ever was a moving target, that's it.
How many of these are you working on? You talk about the lab, which I'm pretty sure I'm not alone. The fact that I would love to be in that lab someday, but I've heard of, worse places to work. But I mean, with you, how many different samples are you working on when you start with? Because I'm fascinated with the fact that you say you start from scratch every time. I mean, obviously you have a method and you have your sources and everything like that. So I imagine your head's always turning. You know, your brain's always working. That you're like, all right, so I really like this one. If we can get our hands on another one of these, like this 9-year bourbon, you know, whatever it is, that we can maybe use this in the next one or similar you know, barrel or whatever. But I mean, like, how many are you working on per batch? Like batch 24 is one out of how many would you say, or are you constantly working on it?
You don't, like the individual batches?
Yeah, like with batch 24, I mean, you say you start in this, like you have all these Glencairns, now you're trying to make a batch out of all these, like what you guys are doing in the lab. How many different like products are you going through? Like when I think of like cigars, for example, they've got different blends and they can tweak it here or there, and they got to make sure they have enough tobacco to do a release. Is it going to be a limited release? Is it going to be a regular release? With you guys, I'm picturing that you're constantly, I mean, this is way oversimplified, right? So this is me thinking, doing it in my freaking bathtub, or, you know, in my basement here. And I'm just like, all right, I'm going to add a little bit more of this to the Glencairn from this barrel or this sample. And I'm just trying to do that. I mean, do you have them all lined up that you just tweak it as far as the quantities per, like you're honing in from the very beginning? You're like, all right, so we're getting closer. In this glass, don't put as much of that 15-year in there or whatever it is. Is that how it works? I mean, I'm trying to wrap my head around
it. That's a really good description. That is a really good description. And part of doing this for so long, you know, we have a whole bunch of suppliers all over the world. Yeah. And so many of those suppliers are in the category of creating the same thing the best way they can every single time. And basically the term that Joe has used in the past, and it really works with this, is that the world is our pantry. So with that said, all of these people making all the different products that then wind up available on the bulk market, we've dealt with all these people long enough to have an idea what we're going to be getting from certain locations.
Yeah.
So then the conversation is, you know, here's what we want to try to hit. Let's do something that has these characteristics, and where do we want to start? Okay. And then we get an idea of what the base material needs to be. We bring all of those in, we throw something together, and then it's a very tedious, stepwise process of filling in the gaps. What's it making? Too much of this, not enough of this. Where do we go to find it? We'll go find it, pull a sample, put the blend together in a lab. So it's a process. It really is. And it's very similar to the way you described it.
Minus the bathtub or basement thing.
That's right. Minus the bathtub.
Minus the bathtub. But that's fine. You know, everyone's got to start somewhere, right?
That's right. There's nothing wrong.
Doing it legally, whatever. Don't send anyone to my house. But with this batch 24, you've got the different years we talked about. It was 9, 10, 13, 15?
Yep.
Is that right?
That's right.
Nate already went through his sample here. I noticed that.
I poured a little bit less than you did.
Well, all right. Anyways, what did you think, Nate?
On the nose, it's very, very bright.
Yeah.
Like it hits your nostrils when you, especially in a Glencairn. It may not hit your nostrils as much if you were doing it out of rocks glass, but Glencairn, it definitely will clear your sinuses.
It does. What's the proof of this?
113.
113.
Yeah, one of our studio audience has the bottle. It's
113.9.
So, yeah. And then
it has a little bit of that.
On the palate, I got no sweetness really on the palate. A little bit of a buttery texture at the very front. Mm-hmm. And then like the finish was like spearmint, and then just hug. So, and then it just hugged the way down.
Do you get any fruit in there?
I'm getting like a little bit, but I'm trying to place it.
Yeah. It's like so bright.
Apple almost.
Yeah. There's some stone fruit flavors in there that we like. Yeah. The sort of floral, fruity arena is kind of what I gravitate toward.
Is that right?
I like I like a balance of the fruit and the spice, as well as some of the leather. So you're getting a little bit of everything. The idea is that you get a well-rounded product, and it's not just a linear expression that you taste and it's gone. You know,
it hangs on for sure. It hangs
yeah,
on.
yeah.
Now, are these all barrel proofs? You guys aren't proofing them down at all?
No, everything we do is cast strength. So if it comes out of the barrel at,
Like
I mean, even some of our ryes, if it comes out of the barrel at 140, it goes in the bottle at 140.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rise next.
Rise next. If you go ahead. I'm almost there. Do you when you're doing these things, it's just like, I don't know. I'm kind of blown away by the fact that everything is barrel proof. You haven't talked about opening it up yet. So do you, when you're sipping on this, and I've noticed that you're not really sipping on anything. It says, you say that you have something else to do after this as well. So
No, I've got mine. I'm just busy talking.
Oh, that's fair. Well, good for you then.
We're busy listening.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, that's what he told us to do. He talked.
He did. But yeah, so do you like dash of water? Are you just always a neat drinker?
I typically don't, and I'll tell you why. When we're putting a blend together, our goal is to obviously create the best product we can, but in order for us to know the way the consumer is going to taste that product, that's the way we need to blend it.
Yeah.
And we drink our bourbons typically neat, or sometimes with an ice cube, depending on what it is and what we're doing, so on and so forth. So everything is blended, cast strength, and sometimes sitting on a lab bench, it will open up. And there are instances, and 26 being one of them, where we have a sample, we're tasting it, and it was something wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes a little oxidation, a little swirl of the glass, let it sit on the counter for a few minutes. It really tends to open up, and you get some stuff that maybe you didn't think was there.
Yeah. I mean, it does linger a bit. I mean, that you can definitely tell it's higher proof. Do you know what the MSRP is? I know it's different state to state, but the MSRP for the typical bourbon, does it change from, batch 26 to, this 24? I mean, does it change, or is it typically the same MSRP?
All of our stuff, it's all line price. So all the batches across bourbon, whiskey, rye, and rum, all are $89.99.
Okay.
Now they like you say, they're going to vary from state to state.
Yeah.
The single barrels are all $109.99. And then we have the BCS line, the Barrel Craft Spirits line, which is a gray label bottle, and those retail at $250 each. Oof. And there's a bourbon, whiskey, and a rum.
That'll also clear your sinuses. $250, but
clear your checkbook too.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're doing it the way you're doing it, it's all barrel proof. It makes sense, right? I mean, it's smaller batches. How many? I don't know if I might have missed it, but how many bottles do you get per batch typically? So, like, of this 24, do you know a rough ballpark on how many bottles you'll get out of that?
I don't remember exactly, but the batches can be, 2,500 gallons. They can be 4,000 or 5,000 gallons, and a lot of what drives that is the flavor. Right. As we're blending, if we get to something that is perfect and we're afraid that we're going to mess it up by adding something else, even though we're trying to make a bigger batch, then we'll stop right there. Yeah. And if we're short, we'll put it in the bottle and we'll, make that up somewhere else.
Yeah.
Everything is about the flavor and the quality of the product that goes in the bottle.
So now we're on the rye. And it's funny, Alexander Rice, one of our top fans, he says, I mean, to be fair, I spent more on guns, so $250 for that, not that unreasonable. So it's all relative.
Touché.
Yeah. It's all relative. It's all relative. So now we're on the rye. And this rye, it says on here, batch number 3. So 003, and proof is 116.7. I assume since this is batch 3, and maybe I'm off here, is that you are not doing as many batches of this, or is this a newer product, or where are we at on batch 3?
So we don't do as many rye batches. Bourbon is really the core.
Yeah.
The rye is something that when we find product that's available that we can put together into something that we feel like is good enough to go in the package, then we'll release another rye.
Okay.
So we're not going to rush just because we need to put something in a bottle to put it on the shelf.
Yeah. Now talk to us about this rye, if you would.
So the rye, it's good. Is sorry.
You gotta love your own product, right?
I'm my own biggest fan when it comes to that, right?
Perfect. I like that. I like that a lot.
It's a blend of barrels from 4 years old all the way to 14 years old.
Jeez.
And
14's an old rye.
Yeah. And the products come from Indiana, Tennessee, Poland.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. And Canada. Canada was the other one.
So they're making rye in Poland.
That's right. It's cold climate. It's great. Rye grows great over there.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've never really, I guess, heard of that. But that's why we do this. We want to learn. So
yeah. The Polish is actually, it's 100% malted rye. So when you taste this rye, there's almost a softer, sweeter note about 2/3 of the way through, almost to the finish.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's where you're going to get that the Polish rye.
There's not as much spice that, I guess when I think of some of the ryes, and we've been talking about those in the previous weeks, I keep expecting some sort of that warm spice, and I'm not getting it out of this. It is a lot softer and smoother.
It's definitely more floral,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
The finish though, like it doesn't have the hug going down, but it kind of just ignites your tongue for me.
Yeah.
And for me, it's kind of this like ginger or wasabi.
Jesus, wasabi?
Yeah, not like it. I mean, it's not a bad thing. Just the flavor and the way it just kind of lights up your whole palate.
Okay.
So when we decide to
wasabi. Okay.
When we decided to
get wasabi?
You want to do some wasabi snooters?
I tell you what, if you get wasabi, then it's in there. How's that?
Very political answer.
Well, there's no right or wrong way to enjoy it, right? It's you enjoy it the way you'd like to.
That's sure. Wasabi, that's a new one.
But our approach to the ryes is to we didn't want the big, bold, in your face spice bomb. There's a lot of it out there. So we wanted to have some of the spice, but then also round out the overall flavor with some of the floral and softer fruit notes to give a complex product and not something that's just very linear, that's in your face and then gone.
Yeah, this is not what I expected in any way, honestly. Even after having that bourbon, like you said, there's so many ryes out there, especially at 116. You've got an alert going on there.
Yeah,
Amber alert.
I didn't even read it. I just turned it off.
Perfect. That's what they're there for. But no, I feel like with the rye at 116, this is I'd say more drinkable. I mean, it's like you don't need to add water. This is something. I mean, the way you're describing it is exactly that. For people that haven't had this, I encourage you to try this out, because it's the bourbon as well. I mean, the bourbon was fantastic. This is just more of a surprise for me, I think, is sipping on this. It is definitely fruitier than a lot of ryes, and especially at that proof, it's kind of shocking. I don't get, maybe it's because we went from the bourbon to this, but I'm not getting really any burn, any heat really. I mean, it's extremely drinkable. And I mean, if I didn't know better and it wasn't written on there 116, I would not say that there was, I mean, much higher than even 100 proof, honestly, just the way it drinks.
Well, and that's part of what we strive to do, is that being a cask strength product, most people think, oh my God, I can't drink that. Well, part of the blending using the different components is softening that mouthfeel so that it doesn't just blow out your palate or burn your throat or any of those things.
Yeah.
All the flavor is in those higher proof products. So finding a way to put those together so they can be enjoyed at that proof is sort of the trick that we're trying to do.
Yeah.
I think it's dangerous to make a product that's 116 proof drink that easy and smooth.
I think it's fantastic, and I applaud you for your efforts.
It's delicious. It's just
so we had Ian. He's asking, it's not in Ohio. We found out. So you're in 47 states. You said Ohio, which we're finding a lot of, and that's one of the things I like about working with Aaron, who is your contact. My contact for your company is that he's able to get us some products so we can talk. A lot of our listeners are in Ohio, but we have them all over. I mean, we're talking East Coast, down south.
Ray from Vietnam.
Yeah, Ray's in Vietnam. He listens every week in the morning. We did have Ian ask, is it possible to order online or direct from you?
I was going to say we do have a buy now button on our website.
Okay.
So barrelcraftspirits.com. We have all the products listed in detail. We tell you as much as we can about everything that we put in each individual product.
Yeah.
Even some of the private release barrels, which if you get on there and check out, it's pretty interesting.
It's a hell of a website. I went on there earlier today, and it's absolutely fantastic. I think a lot of the websites out there for spirit companies and cigar companies are either overly pretty without much information, they're text heavy, they're hard to follow, and some of them are just basically like landing pages, and they don't really have much at all. You guys very well laid out. It's got a lot of information. And it is obviously it's pretty also. So
thank you. Yeah, Katie does a great job. She's over. She takes care of our website and all of our e-commerce stuff, and
fantastic.
She's fantastic at that.
Yeah.
All right, we got one more.
We got one more. It's hard because I don't want to I'm not trying to down these. We should have poured a little bit smaller.
Yeah, we should have.
That's good.
We don't have Tripp for a whole lot of time. So
I know. All right. So this next product that we've got here. Is the Barrell Dovetail.
Yep.
I won't say much. It's 122.9 proof. It's up there.
Mm-hmm.
And it says whiskey finished in rum, which you guys do your own rum, right?
We do have a rum line, yes, but it's similar to the rye as far as the release schedule.
Okay, gotcha. So finished in rum, port, and Dunn Vineyards Cabernet barrels.
That's right.
That sounds intense. You go ahead. So where's Dovetail come in? I mean, are we talking woodwork or what are we talking about?
So yes, and what Dovetail was originally is we have a whiskey line too, and Barrell whiskey was very similar to Barrell Bourbon as a line item, and we did batches 1 through 4. And Dovetail was supposed to be, we did 1 through 5, and Dovetail was supposed to be 6. And there were a lot of issues with the finishes, the blends, the whiskeys, and the legality behind all of that we couldn't get ourselves to fit into a box. So instead of trying to call it Barrell whiskey, we kicked around all these different names, and Joe threw out Dovetail one day. And we didn't really know what to think of it. And then the more we talked about it, it just kind of stuck. And now it fits so well because the way that all of the individual whiskeys and the finishes and the flavors, they dovetail together like the wood joint.
Love it.
I miss woodworking.
You can always get back into it, Nate.
Yeah, if I had my own house.
You can come over here and do woodwork anytime you want, man. You guys, did you tell him that you had a background similar?
Yeah. So when Steve was
That's
telling
why
me,
when you said your background in school, he
I
told him before the podcast, and I knew he was going to nerd out about it.
Yeah, I have a degree in biology, and then my first 8 years out of college, I did toxicology and pharmacology research in a lab. So
nice.
So when he's reading yours, I was like, Wait a minute. You mean I could have graduated from college and then start working at a distillery? Son of a bitch.
Hey,
Why
so
did
what did
why
I
did my
do
guidance
wrong?
counselor not tell me that?
Yeah. Believe me, my guidance counselor didn't tell me either. I got lucky. I was originally going to medical school. So
You got recruited, right?
I did. Brown Foreman got me right out of college, right after I graduated.
Where'd you go?
Tennessee Technological University in Cookeville, Tennessee.
Yeah. I feel like Brown Foreman gets a lot of people right out of college, or you're actually in college.
They do. Most of them come from Louisville, out of Louisville Speed School.
Okay.
They pull a lot of people here locally.
All right. So Dovetail, that is different.
It is very different, and you have to approach it with an open mind to flavor and not comparing it to a bourbon, because it's not a bourbon. Right. If you go in it with that mindset, you're going to be disappointed. But
no,
if you
at this point, I say it's different because it is truly, I mean, especially from what we've had so far this evening, the rye and the bourbon. I mean, it
doesn't hit on the nose as strong as the other two did. Like, it's a little softer on the nose.
It'll open up a little bit too.
It is. I'm getting into the nostril for sure. Definitely getting more of the and maybe because I read it, but I mean, it's definitely got more of that wine and port.
Wow, that's different.
Kind of. Oh, is this your first sip?
Yeah, that was my first sip.
Yeah.
Wow, that is so different.
It's I'm getting a lot of the port, especially up front. I don't know if that's intentional, if that's just, again, me reading it, but I mean, it's definitely got that kind of that port kind of hit right away.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm watching you.
The interesting thing about Dovetail is that we do it in releases, not necessarily batches, but in dated releases.
Okay.
And we use all of the same material in very similar proportions, so that all of the releases are similar, but there is still some differentiation between each of those. Okay. And a lot of that comes from the available whiskey that we decide we want to use. Some of it comes from the wine barrels that we use, because the wine's made from grapes, and the grapes are going to vary year to year based on the weather, which is going to change the wine, which is going to impact the barrel, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So there are all these different variables in all the key components that go into this. So we put them together each time with a goal of staying in the same wheelhouse as the original product, but we do want it to be a little bit different.
It's definitely different. What are you thinking?
I think that is the easiest, even though it's the highest proof of the three, I think it's the easiest drinking of the three. It's definitely unique.
I think the rye is the easiest.
At 122 proof, I was not expecting it to be this easy.
Yeah, it's definitely different. I like what you said, Tripp, is that, if you're expecting like a bourbon or you're expecting that, it's certainly not that. This is a very unique product, and I think you guys hit it on the head with the Dovetail idea.
Yeah, that was all Joe.
I mean, it's kind of cool. I mean, that you guys are doing something this unique. How does this sell for you? Is this one of your?
Keep it on the shelves.
That's what I figured.
It's gone all the time.
This is also $89 for the Dovetail, or is this a different price?
It'll be $89 as well.
Yeah, that's a neat product. That is a really neat product. If you guys are looking, granted, I mean, this is something. If you guys see the Barrell products out there, the Barrell Craft Spirits products out there, I would encourage you to try everything we've tried tonight. But I mean, with this one, it's not even the fact that it's my favorite of the three. It's just ridiculously unique.
Yeah,
in a good way. That's cool.
Well, and part of what we've tried to accomplish as a company is to build a reputation that says, no matter what bottle you see of ours on the shelf, you can rest assured that what is in that bottle is a good product.
Yeah. No,
because we understand that, it's a big leap to try something at $90 if you don't know what you're getting.
That's not inexpensive. I mean,
no.
It's not. But anymore, it's interesting because for I don't want to say smaller, but I mean, it's like a somewhat newer line of products. You're coming in at that barrel strength, which is, I think, something that's kind of understated with what you're talking about. Because when you look at all these other if you guys came out with something that was, say, 80 proof or something like that, and you were charging $89 for that, I think that you're
gonna miss.
You're gonna miss. But when you do this, and if you look into it, and I don't think it says it on any of your stuff. We only have the sample bottles, but like the batch 24, when you throw out the ages of what's going into that bottle, and then you look at the proof, and it's barrel proof, and then you look at the price last, you're like, it makes sense. It makes sense, in my opinion, to come in at that $90 bottle with stuff that's as old as, like, say, 15 years. And even on the rye, you said 4 to 14.
That's right.
It's a hell of a range. And you've got some age in there that a lot of bottles and a lot of companies would dream of, or they would charge even more for.
That's right.
If they're coming in with some of this, like, 14, 15-year-old ingredients in there, in my opinion. Like, when we find a bottle that's got, like, 8 to 10 years, and it's coming in at, like, say, 50 or less, I think that you like it. I think you're kind of really hitting the jackpot, and they're very, very rare. And as the boom continues to do exactly that, and boom, I think you see prices kind of climbing. And I don't think it'll be very long before you're going to see some of the everyday stuff, unfortunately, that are in that barrel proof, that are going to be trying to be similar to what you guys are doing, even though each one is unique for you guys. You'll probably see a lot more competition that's going to be approaching that $70 to $90 to $100 bottle when it's coming in at these small batches.
Well, and I think to that point, all the more reason to focus on what goes in the bottle and less what goes on the bottle.
That's exactly right. And your marketing is very straightforward, that I've seen, as far as the front, like the labels and everything else. I mean, it's very much kind of in your face, but it is very straightforward. You've got, obviously, there's consistency of what I saw on the website. Obviously, we're looking at the sample labels, which I think are somewhat similar to a point, but I like that you have that simple approach on the outside, but again, on the inside is nothing simple at all. I mean, it's definitely a lot of thought in that.
I think that's one of the things that is, when you were talking about if that boom continues and prices for regular stuff starts creeping up, I think the one thing that they've got an advantage of is every batch is going to be something different. So with some of these, exactly what you're going to taste every time you buy a bottle.
Yeah.
That's right.
Whereas with this, every batch is going to be different. So if someone goes out and they buy the bourbon batch 24, and they're like, you know what, I really like that. When 25 comes out, they're not going to sit there and go, nah, I've had that. No, you haven't. They're going to be like, okay, let's see what they did this time. Let's try batch 25, and let's try 26.
That's exactly right.
Because they're doing something different, they always keep the interest.
Yeah, it just always pisses me off when I find something I fall in love with, and then it goes away. And you ask a guy like Tripp, like, hey, Tripp, I remember a couple years ago you did a podcast with a couple guys in a garage, and do you have any more of that batch 24? Because I really like that. And you're gonna say, who's this?
No, I'm gonna say, what's your address?
I like that answer. I'll have to send you a link to the podcast you were on, but I really like that dovetail. That's cool. I want to try some of the other products now that you guys do. I mean, it's unique enough to, and intriguing enough, having these three, and then seeing that you guys are doing these other projects, even like the small, what was it, the BCS, is that what you called it?
The Barrel Craft Spirits brand, our line is our super premium or ultra premium top of the line stuff.
Yeah.
And we've just released that this year. But again, it's something that we have to find the right product and put the right blend together to put it in that package. Otherwise, we're not going to release it.
No, absolutely not. No, there's definitely a level of pride that comes across when you're talking. Sounds like it's a cool company also. I mean, it sounds like you guys all, is it fairly small as far as employee base?
Yeah, I think we've got 16 people now. We've been hiring quite a few people here in sales and also for helping process production and bottling. But I think we're about 16 people right now.
Well, I think that I speak for a lot of people here in the garage, especially, but also the listeners. I assume that if you could just get someone to work on, Canepa, who is the guy in charge of the Ohio State liquor.
It's a tough nut to crack.
It's a tough nut to crack, but I'm telling you, we hope to see this on the shelves here in Ohio very, very soon, and make it number 48 for you. I mean, I know we're just a little Ohio, but I mean, come on.
I'm going to put Bill on it right now. Will's our national director, and
oh yeah,
all that. So I'll get him on it.
Get him on it, or we can always go across the border and find you guys.
Road trip.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, Ray did have a question one more time. You said 47 states. Do you know if this is international or is it U.S. only at this time?
Great question. We actually just released in Australia.
Just south of Vietnam.
That's a little closer to Ray than we are.
Wow, that's fair. That's so Australia of all places. Hopefully, we'll get it to you there, Ray.
We're working on a couple others, but right now that's all we've got.
Okay. Well, perfect. I mean, do you have anything else? Like I said, we don't want to keep you. I know you got something else to do. We're going to move on to the cigar. We could talk bourbon and whiskeys all night. I mean, I think it's a really cool company.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. Is there anything else we should know about you, Barrel Craft Spirits, or anything else? Anything to look for coming out here? You said 26 was just finished up and the project was buttoned up today. So when does that actually find its way to shelves in the States that you guys are carried?
It's probably going to be early November before it gets there.
That's sooner than I thought. I mean,
yeah. But also something else to keep an eye on is we have what's called our private release series, private release whiskey and private release bourbon. And literally what these are individual barrels that are blended and finished. And we do them in groups of 48, and each of those individual barrels has its own blend and its own finish.
Wow.
And the first time we did that, it sold out so quickly I had to turn around and do another 48. So we're doing these things.
Good problem to have.
It is. But it's a very time consuming process. But again, we let flavor drive the bus. And if we can come up with something that's unique and tastes good and people are going to enjoy, then we're going to give it everything we've got to do it.
No, absolutely. Hey, I got one more question here and I think I know the answer to this, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Okay.
We got Alexander saying, is there any bourbons that you sell that are good for someone who's trying to get into bourbons? I'm interested to hear what you have to say about that, being that everything is cask strength.
The Dovetail is actually a pretty good segue into just the whiskey category, let's say. It's a little more approachable than a lot of other whiskeys, and especially some of the bourbons.
Yeah.
So I would say the Dovetail. Some of our batch products are a little fruitier than others. 21 is one that's like that. 20 is another relatively fruity one. 18 was another really good one. So it's I would say the Dovetail.
Okay.
I
mean, see that too, like coming from another spirit.
Yeah, it's a completely different product, but at the same time, you're approaching cask strength whiskey.
Yeah.
And once you get into the category, then you can start to sort of dabble with the different products.
Yeah. All right. That's a good answer. I was not expecting. And again, just so you know, I mean, it is good to come from other spirits or to try your line, but be warned, it's 122 proof. So it's not like you're going from a glass of water. You're like, you know what? I feel like something else because I'm a little thirsty. That's not something that I would really dip into right out of the gate, unless I think your point is absolutely valid that it's just got good flavor. I left a little bit in there because if you guys can see, I feel like that's the one that Nate wants to go back to.
Yeah, that was my favorite one. Yeah,
Yeah, I'll get that. So Tripp, I want to thank you very much. I hope that you're down in Louisville area.
Yeah, we're in Louisville.
All right. Yeah, we're trying to actually I was supposed to be down in bourbon country, if you will, this last weekend for a buddy, AJ, who's been on the podcast before, but it was his birthday, and we tried to line up something. His fiance was fantastic, set up an Airbnb, set up a transportation for Saturday to run around and all that stuff, which was amazing. But due to the circumstances, a lot of the distilleries are doing very limited tours, if any.
That's right.
So we've postponed that. So I will definitely keep you guys in mind and hopefully reach out to you if I end up and Nate, if we end up down in that area. We'd love to kind of to pick your brain and see what's going on down there with you guys.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
No, it's awesome. That's awesome. And I will say I think I speak for a lot of people listening also, that you hear your background, that's one thing, but then you see the fact that you started with Brown-Forman, and then in a short period of time, you're working for a company that you've said, I'd have to listen back how many times that you're seeking out the flavor. And that is something that I think it's probably already paid off for you guys. But I think that motto and that mentality is something that too often a lot of businesses, when it comes to, well, with us, cigars and whiskey and spirits, you lose that a lot of times. You lose the fact that you're going for the flavor. You got people coming in, you start having suits, if you will, sitting around a conference table or looking at the P&L and everything like that. You're like, yeah, flavor's great, but we need to cover payroll this month. And it's like, I think that you guys are doing it to a point where who knows what your P&L looks like. But I think if you guys keep knocking out of the park with this stuff and being honest with the flavor and everything else, I'm excited to see what keeps coming from you guys.
Well, we love to do it, and we appreciate all the support.
Yeah, and I think you hit the jackpot so far at this point in your career in this industry. I'll say that right now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Seems to be working out well for him.
Yeah, it's very cool. Very cool. So
I've definitely done worse for money.
What's that?
I've definitely done worse for money.
$20 is $20 sometimes, man.
Yeah, whatever it takes, right?
Whatever it takes. That's right. Especially these days.
Someone's got to pay the bills.
Well, I appreciate it. Like I said, enjoy your next appointment. You said you were jumping on to something else after this, and we really appreciate you taking the time, and also for the samples. This is amazing, and we feel very, very fortunate, and we are very gracious for you taking your time and sending us this. So thank you.
I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for having me, and hopefully we can do it again.
Let's do it. Let's line it up. We'll line it up here probably soon. I would hope in the next several months, or if we get a chance to get our hands on a full bottle, if we go over to Kentucky or Indiana or somewhere like that, I'll reach back out to you and see if we can talk about whatever we get our hands on.
Yeah, man, that sounds great.
That's awesome. All right. Well, take care.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Have a good one.
All right, brother. Cheers. Let's see if I can get him. There we go. Well, I'd say that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and block this person.
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, anyone on the feed, do not message this man on WhatsApp to get spoiled with $5,000 in your Cash App. If you want to try that, Mary, we appreciate that. You are now blocked. Well, no, Sean, if you want to reach out to her, it's still up there. All right. What'd you guys think of this?
I just had the first one and it was good.
It's good.
Yeah.
You had a little bit more. Try this one, you guys.
That's
That's
so
the
different.
most unique one. I'm going to go ahead and kill the rye if that's cool with you.
Go right ahead.
All right.
That dovetail was so unique, and
Yeah.
I didn't actually want to say what flavors popped in my head, because not every time does like the flavor you feel. It doesn't mean it actually tastes like that. It's just what it reminds you of. And
The hell are you talking about?
I didn't want to share what this.
Well,
one was.
now you have to.
No,
You have to.
No.
He's not on
no,
it.
because people are gonna
Let's
think
hear it.
no. It's very unique. It's not bad. It's very good.
Well,
Very good.
The last time that we have just Nate on here with me at this point, because he is holding back from our listeners and followers.
No, it
Let's hear it. What the hell are you like?
no.
Now I really want to know that. Like, is there something you can't say on air?
No,
Is there a bad experience?
No, I can say it's just
We're in a trust tree here,
like,
so everyone
I
out
call
there,
bullshit on that.
Well,
No, just
no one's listening anyways.
just I think it's with that wine cask or with that Cabernet finish on it.
Talking about like communion wine.
No, it has No, it has like
Where-
this.
where-
It has like this
God, this is a lot of buildup. This is good.
cardboard.
Cardboard.
Yeah, like
Talking
it
about,
does.
like boxed wine. That are you
It's
getting
just-
cardboard? You took a
it's just
sip
the
of that.
it's just the way it hit my palate. I'm like, what is this flavor? And that was the
I'm
first.
glad
thing
you
that popped
didn't
in my
say that
head.
when Tripp was still on.
Yeah, yeah, no,
Cardboard.
it
And
was
wait,
good.
wait. Well, how does cardboard?
Like the
equate with
smell
Cabernet.
of cardboard.
How does that? Do you not like Cabernet wine?
Like Cab Sauves.
That's it. Because
Depends on.
where's the cardboard come into play here?
I don't know. It's just the way it hit
Jesus.
my palate. Like,
I don't know. I feel like it tastes like a butterscotch.
Yeah, but I get more.
I didn't
port.
think it was. I
I
didn't
get
think.
more
I didn't
port.
think. I didn't think any of them were very sweet. Like I was kind of surprised that there was no sweetness to
Well,
any of them.
cardboard's not very sweet, so
No, yeah,
So clearly, you're not going to get the.
no. I got that. Thank you.
If you liked it though, right?
Yes,
So
I
you
did.
really liked it,
I did.
and then you said it has a note of cardboard. We got some boxes over there if you want to just chew on that. And, I don't know what that's weird. But there is, like he said, there's no wrong answer. I wish you would have heard that. I have a feeling he would have said there's a wrong answer now.
No, it was just a very. It
No,
was,
my favorite part of that whole scenario is that you held back, and two, that you yeah, that was your favorite. That was your favorite, and it's the cardboard one.
Oh,
Nate, is it not the wood you're tasting? No, it's cardboard. Alexander says just put some Franks on cardboard. Really brings out the flavor.
see, this is
Alright.
why I didn't want to say it. You
Nah.
son of a bitch.
I'm glad you did. I was trying to pull up the 4 Kicks here. I forget which email because he had a great. So let's talk about the 4 Kicks a little bit. Tell us what you're thinking. Did you think that the cigar, as you're smoking it, goes with the different whiskeys that we were drinking?
Well, I don't think I smoked it during all of them.
Okay.
I smoked it a little bit. Fuck off, Dustin. I smoked it a little bit with the bourbon.
Yeah.
I don't think I smoked it with the rye.
Okay.
Then I lit it back up with the dovetail.
Okay.
No, ever since the 4 Kicks Capa Especial, it's a newer one from Crowned Heads.
It is. Yes.
It's only been in the shop for a few weeks, but I've really liked it. The few times that I have smoked it so far, the way things are in the shop right now, it's kind of hard to try new cigars because every time a customer walks in, you got to put the cigar down, put your mask on. You can't just walk around the shop smoking it with customers. So doing that with a new cigar, like you're constantly putting it down, relighting, and that's going to affect the flavor over time. And you want to smoke it when you can just light it up and smoke the whole thing through without being interrupted. But no, I really enjoy the flavor on it. To my understanding, it was an old blend.
Yeah.
When Crown Heads first came out, it was an older blend that they did with EP Carrillo, I believe.
Yeah. So yeah, Ernesto Perez Carrillo, he's the one. So Crowned Heads, we've talked. We had Miguel on several times so far,
Yeah.
and I was texting him today. I'd like to get him on. We just got the Mil Diaz in the shop, and that's their newest one with Pichardo. They've worked with EPC, I believe My Father, and then also Drew Estate. Drew Estate. So this is one with Ernesto Perez Carrillo, and 4 Kicks. This is back in 2011. They actually came out with the original 4 Kicks. And this was early on in the company. It might even be their first project. I'd be interested to look back at that. I think it is. But so they had 3 final blends, and so John Huber and Mike Conder, the co-founders, they like the Habano wrapped blends. 2 of the 3 final products had a Habano wrapper on it.
I'm a big fan of Habano,
and you can see that. In fact, that they still, as a company, really like that Ecuadorian Habano wrapper. So this one, though, has a Sumatra wrapper on it, and it's an Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper over Nicaraguan binder, and then the fillers are from the DR and also Nicaragua. So the original Four Kicks uses all Nicaraguan filler blend. So it is quite different than the original Four Kicks. So when you see it on there, this Four Kicks has it's called Capa Especial. It has a blue background to the crown looking Four Kicks label, and it's quite different. I will say that, and I got to be honest, I like the Four Kicks. I remember when I first started smoking some of the Crown Head stuff. I think that the Four Kicks is a nice blend. It's very popular. I think that for me it didn't hit my wheelhouse as much as something like this. So I like the product. Obviously I love Crown Heads. I love the guys over there. I love Miguel, but this is one that has really hit. I've gone back to this blend since we brought it in.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons we didn't do it right when we got it in, because we like to be able to, like with Tinder Box at Easton being the sponsor, we don't want to dip into their new product before the customers get a chance to buy it up. But this is one that I think is a fantastic medium bodied, would you say?
Yes. I like this more than the regular Four Kicks. And when because of the story behind it, with it being like one of the original blends but not coming out till just now, that's why when I was messaging Miguel about the cigar a while back ago, he actually threw out the lines that you might hear when someone's getting married, like something old, something new, something blue. Well, that's what this is. It's an old blend, new release, and then it's got the blue band. So
that's cute.
You can thank Miguel for that, not me.
Miguel, that's cute.
Do
you think this has? I mean, you like this a lot, right?
I do.
You get a little cardboard in this also?
No.
Okay.
God damn it! Never gonna live that one down.
No,
all right,
definitely.
All right.
That's definitely coming.
All right. No, I get a little bit of sweetness to it, and kind of like an almond nuttiness to it.
I get a little bit of spice in the Retro Hale.
Yes.
A little punch right off the first hit.
Little punch.
Yeah.
Spice. Yeah.
Yeah, the first light, I got a nice little hit.
Little pepper, little kick. Yeah, right off the beginning. Yeah, I really like this. It's a beautiful package too. I do. I mean, I know it doesn't really. We talked, with Tripp and everything. It's more about like what's inside the bottle. And I will say this one stands up, but it is a very, very beautiful white box.
Yes.
With the blue on there, and it pops. It's very, very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. I'd love to have Miguel on here, and we talked about it, so we got to get him. Hopefully, he's back on the road. He's down in Florida now instead of in Ohio. So we can either do him remote, but I'd much rather have him in the garage because he brings rum. So
he's our resident rum expert.
Yeah, he is the resident rum expert. Anyone out there that's listening, I don't know if you've had this cigar. This is something newer. I would definitely check it out. I want to say it's gone pretty well with the whiskeys.
I think it balances them out.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons I was looking again when we do this. I was looking again for something medium bodied, not knowing what we were going to be sipping on. I mean, we saw the bottles. We knew we had 3 different samples. I didn't realize though that the dovetail was so unique. But I'm thinking, all right, you got a cast strength bourbon, you got a cast strength rye, and I didn't know anything about the dovetail. I didn't do the research, and I think it held up against all 3 of them.
Yeah, well, I think it's because they have different flavors.
Mm-hmm.
Like I get more sweetness out of this cigar than I did any of the 3 whiskeys.
Okay.
Because with those 3, I got no sweetness at all from any of them. And then also the nuttiness that I get from this cigar, I didn't get that any of those in the whiskeys and the rye. Like everything was more floral notes or citrus notes in there, stuff like that. But so they're not battling because they're completely different flavors.
That's right.
You're going to taste the cigar because you know what the cigar tastes like. You're going to taste because the cigar and the whiskeys are so unique. You're going to be able to still taste both of them. Whereas if they had somewhat comparable flavors, like one might overpower the other.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think this is it's a good pairing. I think it's a good pairing. I mean, we can kick right into that: the whiskey, the cigar, and the pairing if you want. I mean, we're getting to that point already here. And I do want to thank. I'm sure he's not listening because he moved on to a different appointment that he had. But with Tripp, I mean, I'm not kidding. I think that guy has a jackpot of a job. It sounds like. I'm sure every job's got its ups and downs, but I mean, just from the outside looking in, I think it's a great fit for him. He seems to really be able to, like I said to him before we signed off, he really has, the opportunity to just stick with we're not hiding behind a budget product. It's all about the flavor. It's $90. This is not an inexpensive bottle, but it's something that, he's getting to play with some cool source products there.
The cool thing about doing it is, because of the way they're doing things, they're always trying to do something different for the next batch.
Yeah.
It's not a routine. It's not a rut. It's not the same old. Like a lot of times in those distilleries, that person in the lab or that QA person, they're just trying to make sure everything tastes the same batch to batch. Right. We're trying to keep the consistency because, like if Shannon name a bourbon. Russell's. Okay. So if you go out and you buy a bottle of Russell's Reserve, you know what Russell's is supposed to taste like. The next time you buy the bottle, it's supposed to taste like that. With this, they're doing something different. So they get to forget everything from before and just play around with it all over again.
I think it's kind of cool.
You can get on the mic if you want.
Yeah, if you want to hit the producer mic there, hit
the fourth
5
button.
Yeah, 5, 6.
I think it's super cool that it changes from batch to batch. You're always having a new experience.
Yeah.
Same good brand, but a new experience with everything you get.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Could you imagine if cigar companies did that?
So
now, like Crown Heads does that.
I was gonna say,
with
they
like
do
the
with
Las
some
Calaveras.
And they do completely, but it's similar but different. I mean, like they do completely different blends, and that is the limited release.
Could you imagine though, like if to bring up one of our sponsors, the BS Gold? Could you imagine like if the BS Gold right now, tasted vastly different a year from now?
Well, so we had issues with that, but the goal is that it doesn't. So that's why we switched over to Plasencia on the Gold.
No, I'm not talking about changing manufacturer. Well, because Casa dumped you. So
well,
but no, okay,
no, you're right.
To
So
take Monte Cristo
the
White,
idea
the
is,
White series.
The idea is that you want it to be more like a Russell's. You want it to be like a Woodford Reserve. You buy a bottle of Woodford Reserve, you're expecting this. Four Roses, even like the Four Roses small batch. I've got something in my head. Single barrel is a little different, obviously, but I think that with cigars, the whole idea is clearly to get it to the point where you have a regular product. We had Ricky Rodriguez on, and he was the one that said, when he tries to release a regular product with CAO, he has to be able to know that there's close to, I think it was around 1 million. Million cigars worth of tobacco that you can actually say this is a regular release.
Yeah.
Because if it's any smaller than that and the brand kicks and it just kicks off and all of a sudden it's getting reordered, now you have a consistency issue, which is exactly what you're talking about. So
well, and we've seen that from some companies. One comes in particular, I won't say who, but they had a cigar that one publication gave them Cigar of the Year, and it was a small batch, limited production cigar.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it gets Cigar of the Year from one of the big publications, and it's like now they try to make more of them, but they may not necessarily had the tobacco, or the tobacco they had wasn't ready, but they had so much back order and so much demand for it that they just wanted to get it out.
Yeah.
And so it didn't taste the same later on as when it first came out.
Yeah. And Ray says, he thinks there's definitely a market for that. Creates a lot of anticipation. I think it is something kind of cool. Like I said, I get pissed off sometimes though when I know I can't get something anymore.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because you fall in love with a product, you fall in love with a blend of a cigar, fall in love with, like, say you are a big fan of barrel craft spirits, and then batch 24 is gone, and you're just like,
But then you
and
get to
memories.
but then you just have to try 25.
Yeah, I'm sure it's good. I'm
And
just saying.
then
Just saying.
you're trying to catch that 24 magic.
All right, so the whiskey, Nate, go ahead and tell us what you thought of. Let's kind of go down the line and kind of be brief. Just so we've talked a lot about the whiskeys, but kind of be brief with the 1 out of 10, 10 being the highest. And so let's start with the Barrell Bourbon, go to the rye, and then to the Dovetail with the whiskeys there.
So I'm not going to compare them from each other. Like just the Barrell Bourbon to all the other bourbons, I give that an 8. It's very solid.
Okay.
Good flavor.
Ray says speed dating.
Okay. The rye, I give the rye a 9. And that's just compared to like all the other ryes.
Yeah.
I give that one a 9. It was really enjoyable. I did like it actually more than the bourbon. And then the Dovetail, I give it a 9 as well. And I'm not comparing it to a bourbon or to a regular whiskey, just
the bottle, yeah.
be something different in
Yeah.
the realm of different. What have I tasted that's different that doesn't really fit into a solid category? Like that's a really good bottle. I did enjoy sipping on that. So 8, 9, and 9.
The cigar, yeah. The 4 Kicks Capa Especial from Crowned Heads.
For me, the cigar is a 9 at least.
Yeah.
I really enjoy this smoke. It's one that I go back to. I actually have a Toro in my case.
It's a little bit of I know this sounds silly, but there's a little bit of like this just classic what a cigar should taste like. Like it's just.
I was actually kind of sad when it was done.
Oh, we'll get you another one, buddy. We'll get you another one. Shannon's crying over there.
Yeah, because he smoked his too fast.
Oh, he's not talking. And then so you said you weren't smoking as much with the whiskeys, correct? So you
Correct.
can't really do an honest pairing.
I didn't really smoke it much with the rye, so I can't really
Yeah.
do a pairing with the rye. I think it paired better with the Dovetail than the bourbon
Cardboard.
because the bourbon, even though it was the lowest proof, it tasted the hottest. So they didn't really.
The Dovetail, you think, tasted the hottest?
No, the bourbon.
Oh, the bourbon.
The bourbon, even though it was the lowest proof.
Yeah, 113.
113, 116, and 122 on the Dovetail. So the bourbon was the lowest proof, but tasted the hottest. So it kind of, that flavor of the bourbon kind of overpowered the cigar, and that's why I kind of stopped smoking the cigar a little bit, because I wanted to enjoy the cigar, because I do enjoy the cigar.
We'll get you more too.
Well, I know where they're at. I know where you live.
Of all the things on the table, we're sad that the cigar's gone. Like you're not going to get these bottles probably anytime soon, and we all know where you can pick up a 4 Kicks Capa Especial, and everyone's like, I'm really sad that it's gone. Like, what? So Tinder Box at Easton in Columbus, Ohio, we'd be happy to ship you out any, or if you guys are in the area, we'd be happy to sell you another cigar.
Is what, $10.95 for this Robusto?
It's in that ballpark. Yeah, 10 to 12-ish.
Corona Gorda's $9.95.
Yeah,
This is $10.95.
Got the Sublime or Sublime, which is a Toro.
Is that how it's actually pronounced?
I thought I heard Miguel say Sublime at one point, or John Huber.
Jesus. What?
Anyways, so I'd say I'm with you a little bit on the ratings, and I'll speed date a little bit here as well, as Ray called it. The bourbon I actually liked a lot. It's a nightcap bourbon. Like you said, it tastes like it almost was the hottest.
Yeah.
I think there was a little bit of that burn. It also was our first drink of the night. At least it was my first drink. I don't know if you were drinking on your way here.
No. I think it was tonight was a good night to drink those because it's not 80 or 90 degrees outside.
It is nice.
Like it's a little bit cooler. And so this was a
now.
good night to drink whiskeys that were this hot.
Yeah. And it's very cool that they're all that cast strength. So the bourbon, I'd say I'd give it like a 8 to 9 in that ballpark for sure. Probably leaning towards 9. The rye, this is the second week in a row that we've had a rye that, again, I like it because it's different. When I dip into a rye, I am looking forward to the spice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to that warm spice. I'm looking forward to, some of my favorites I've said is that Christmas Day, type of a warm spice. This did not have it, but I would absolutely, for the uniqueness and for what it is, I'd give it an 8. I thought it was very good.
So you like so you like the bourbon more than the rye, and I like the rye more than
I
the
might have
bourbon.
just been, I mean, I like them both. It might have just been in the mood for bourbon tonight, but the rye was very good. Again, it's I don't know I didn't know what to expect from a rye that's going to be 116, almost 117 proof.
Wait till
the-
that one rye I bring on.
The dovetail, I would say, so unique. I'd give that a 9 just because you're not going to be able to find another product. And we've had some great ones on of uniqueness in a bottle. We had
I was
Whiskey War.
You know what that made me think of?
What's that?
Not flavor wise, just the uniqueness. Bua,
Bua for
because
the
they're
Irish.
doing so many. They're doing so
Pat
many
and
different
Martin on.
finishes in that.
Mhm,
That's it.
mhm.
Made the dovetail made me think of the Bua, just doing those different finishes
Absolutely.
and blending them all together.
Absolutely. The cigar I'd give 8.5, 9, somewhere in that ballpark. I think this is something that is, like I said, it's a great cigar. I don't think the cigar is going to. We're drinking some unique stuff tonight.
Yes.
So one of the great parts about this, as I already said, is that it's a very classic cigar, medium body. There's some great flavor there. The retro hail is nice. It's not going to blow your socks off to a point. I know you guys are saying you're sorry. I think it's just a very, very solid, good cigar. Construction's fantastic.
Yes.
So I mean, I'm not rating it poorly, but when I say kind of like that 8.5, it's not because it's a bad. It's just not as unique as everything we're having. So maybe that's just my mindset right now, is that I'm looking for the uniqueness. I think it's a very, very good cigar. I highly recommend the cigar, but I wouldn't put it in that 9 to 10 range for the cigar, just because it's not as unique as what we're drinking tonight.
It's not unique, but I just
just
absolutely, I
good.
love the flavor.
It's just good.
I love this. When I had the first one,
Yeah.
I waited until after I was out of the shop to smoke it and
Yeah.
smoke the whole thing with no interruptions. And I just absolutely love the flavor. You're right. It does have more of a classic cigar
And that's
taste.
a good thing. It's a good thing.
And I think it's nice being medium body, because you can just smoke it anytime. This is
tons of
any
smoke,
time
as
of
you
the
guys can
day.
see on the screen. I'm getting tons of smoke. The construction is fantastic.
Yeah.
The pairing, I think it is closer to a 9, because again, I think that gives the cigar more credit, I guess, is that I think it's a 9 on the pairing, because you can smoke this with anything on the table.
Yeah.
And you've got, what are we drinking in the second part? You brought the extra whiskey.
I brought a big old bottle of Evan Williams bottled and bond.
I'm gonna switch over to this guy here, the rocks glass.
Oh.
So you don't have to. You can feel fancy in a Glencairn. I want to thank our sponsors for part 1, and I also want a special shout out and thanks to Tripp and Aaron, who I keep bringing up Aaron because he's lined us up with some great companies. Chicken Cock Whiskey last week. He's got we still have a bottle, so hopefully we'll get someone on from Still Austin, which is out of Texas area. But
wouldn't have guessed.
Right. But I do want to thank Tripp and these Barrell products. If you guys are in one of the 47 states, I would highly recommend checking it out. Just really, really cool stuff. And again, $90, $89.99 is the suggested retail. This is not an inexpensive bottle, but I would say, hopefully after listening to us talk about it tonight and hearing Tripp talk about it, I just love the enthusiasm. I love the uniqueness of everything that they're doing. So I hope you guys do that. So thank you to them. And then also, thank you to Tinder Box at Easton for the 4 Kicks Capa Especial, fantastic cigar. I want to thank you, bartender. Altadis USA. I've got some Upman Nicaraguas on the table here that we're going to be with AJ Fernandez. We've talked about that before. That's going to be our second cigar, and they feature our second cigar, and they are an annual sponsor at this point. So hopefully we can continue that relationship. BS Cigar Company, BS Gold and BS Silver are available now. Check them out. They are some of our favorites. They definitely hit close to home for us, but all Nicaraguan tobacco, and we absolutely love them. And then patreon.com/Bourbon and BS podcast. This is something that also hits very close to home, and we appreciate that support. Nate's got the shirt on. He's hunched over, poor posture right now, but it is pour one more, light up another. We'll figure this out together. And on the back is the podcast logo. So tri-blend shirt. Don't want to see that. Check them out. We have different tiers on the Patreon page as well. $5, $10, $25. And you could also do any dollar amount, either monthly or do a one-time donation. Whatever's fine. Obviously, we appreciate it. We are very, very thankful for the support. So, guys, cheers to part 1. Part 2 is going to be interesting. I don't know. I think we might bring on one or both of these guys if they're done texting each other. Shannon and Sean are in. They've been on the podcast before. This is a topic. So if you guys are listening to part 1 right now, part 2 is going to be, what I say, be the main character.
Yes.
Be the main character. Something I saw, an odd source.
Yes.
You enjoyed the video. You enjoyed it. So
different reasons than you.
We'll get into that.
No.
Guys, cheers.
Cheers.
Happy Whiskey Wednesday. Thank you very much. Episode 137, part 1. And if you guys are listening live, continue on, and we will have a brief intermission, and we will get back to you guys here momentarily. So that's not so we have Evan Williams. We're in the intermission right now. Evan Williams, Bottle and Bond, 100 proof. It's a good bottle. I mean,
God.
You said this is what, $30 for
$29.99 for
1.75.
1.75.
It'll get you drunk.
So like this is so this is how much
That's just
almost.
tonight.
This is how much I had when I
kidding.
came over here, and I was already on my way here when Steve texted me because I needed to pick up some dinner on my way here, and he's like, "Hey, bring another bottle to sip on afterwards."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, I got some.
Which one do you guys?
I got some of this 175."
Either.
And he's like, "All right, cool. If you don't mind sharing, we'll sip on that afterwards." I was like, "Well, it's a good thing I grabbed it before I left the house." And
set up here. You keep talking.
And so I got food, and it took me less time to get food than I thought. Do you want me to move over or put them in the middle?
Doesn't matter. What are you going to do? Yeah, scoot over. Yeah. It'll be easier to set up.
And so getting dinner did not take as long as I thought. So I had some extra time, and so I popped up the street to Kroger, went in the liquor store, and I was looking to see if they had anything. You know, there were a couple bottles that I wanted to get, but there were, $40 to $50 bottles, and I was like, I want that, but if I'm bringing this for a sipper, like, maybe don't go $50 for a sipper after the podcast is over. And they had another bottle. They had several more bottles of this, so I actually picked up another bottle of the Evan Williams Bottle and Bond 175. So, yeah, I got a lot of whiskey with me. That bottle's in the car though. And I will tell you guys, I told Steve. So last week, we had the chicken cock whiskey and the chicken cock rye, and my wife went online and bought me and ordered me a bottle of the rye because I love the rye. So I gave the rye a 10 last week. It was just absolutely phenomenal. And so she actually ordered me a bottle of the rye, and it showed up on Saturday. And so the person who last week shall remain nameless that called me the Russian judge, because the whole story with that is, several weeks ago I didn't rate something very high, and then lately I've been rating things high, so he thinks I've been bought off. That's why they call me the Russian judge. But I went out and then bought a bottle of last week's rye. So it was that good. I went out and bought a bottle of it.
Felt that guilty.
I gave it a 10. How do I feel guilty?
Give it a 10.
It's not like I went out and bought a bottle of the one I...
Avi's tuning in right now. Oh, that's good timing right there.
Yeah.
That's good timing right there.
It's Avi, bastard.
Oh, God. All right, we all set up here?
That's mine.
Guys, thanks for tuning in for the intermission right now. He's all right, I think.
He's a little shorter.
Did we turn on his
Did you
mic?
unmute? Second channel in the middle.
Oh, shit. Can you
Bobby
grab
Crow's
that
like,
other
Nate,
cigar right the-
Bobby
yeah,
Crow's like, Nate doesn't spend money. You shitting me? You know how much, if you remember what Greg said last week, how much that bottle of rye costs? Like, bullshit, I don't spend money. I think that bottle was $75. So
All right.
I think that's the most I've ever spent on a bottle. Yeah.
Oh, God. Who put that leg there? You got praying mantis, and if you want to chime in at any point, you know how to work that, right?
What?
All right. Shannon needs more space. He's a big dude. All right, I'm gonna get started here, and we'll kind of roll into this. Let's see. Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. This is episode 137.2 or part 2. We had a great conversation with Tripp from Barrell Craft Spirits. He's based out of Louisville. We had some wonderful samples in part 1 for the Barrell Bourbon, the Barrell Rye, and the Barrell Dovetail. Check out part 1 if you guys want to hear about that. Just a fantastic company. I'm excited to see what comes out of that. It is not available in Ohio, so for those that are in Ohio, you're going to have to seek it elsewhere, which we plan on doing. Check out part 1 for that. Also, we were smoking the 4 Kicks Capa Especial for the featured cigar. So thank you, Tinder Box at Easton, for sponsoring us and providing us with the 4 Kicks Capa Especial. We had that towards the end as far as the review of that, and we appreciate that. We all really like that cigar. Shannon's joining us. Shannon Chapman's joining us for part 2 here. We got Sean in the audience who's been on the podcast as well, Nate Hale, and I'm Steve Crane. I do want to thank BS Cigar Company as well and Altadis USA. I'm going to be lighting up the H. Upman Nicaragua, which is by AJ Fernandez. That is one of our favorites for a second cigar, which they provide us with a featured second cigar. And also patreon.com. This is something where you guys can get the shirt that Nate is wearing. Patreon.com. Bourbon and BS podcast. It says, pour one more, light up another. We'll figure this out together, which is kind of what this podcast is all about. And we appreciate all the support from you guys. There are tiers on there, $5, $10, and $25 are just the cookie cutter tiers. And you guys can feel free to kind of contribute whatever you're able to or what you want. Or if you don't want to and you just want to keep listening to us, that's fine too. We enjoy doing this. And please, the other fee is share, like, and review. We're on Facebook Live, YouTube Live every week on Wednesdays around 7:30-ish. It's become more 7:30-ish as opposed to 7:30 on the nose. And also iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, a handful of others. I mean, it's really great that you guys support us because it's fun to do. We enjoy learning about this stuff. We enjoy having this little bit of therapy, if you will, on part 2.
Yeah.
And again, being able to do the live thing and everything else, we really enjoy it. And Cindy says, I don't want Nate's shirt. So
You can get
I
your
will
own.
send you, I'll send you a fresh shirt. It's not going to be worn. I think
gonna be faded.
that's Nate's onlyfans.com is where if you need anything and you want to get anything that he has worn sending it out, what's your onlyfans.com? Nate Hale, or is it your stage name?
It doesn't exist.
You don't know. You don't even know what to say to that.
Dirt Diggler.
He said Nate Diggler.
Oh.
All right, so here we are in part 2. And what's up, John? John Dixon's listening in. What's up, everyone?
Hey, John, what's going on?
So I feel like right now I'm always looking for ideas for part 2 because again, we're 137, so I'm looking everywhere for it. And I listen to different podcasts and I've been saying this in previous weeks. Right now, we listen to a lot of podcasts that are topic heavy, and even the ones that aren't topic heavy. Like it's like they have a niche, bourbon ones, whatever, you know. Even I found some of the whiskey and the cigar ones they're struggling to stay on task, if you will. And the ones that are interviews, like I listen to Joe Rogan, like a lot of people listen to Joe Rogan, I listen to Andy Frisella, I listen to Ed Milet, and it's interview style, but it just keeps going back to what's going on in this world. And I find that, and this is kind of how I'm going to set the table here, is that be the main character. The idea here is that be the main character in your life. I was scrolling through Instagram, and we all follow different people on Instagram. One of the people that I actually, for whatever reason, follow, I don't even know who she is. It came up on it was probably like a chive thing, you know what I mean? And I'm that creepy old man every once in a while that it's like, oh, Sports Illustrated swimsuit model. Oh, cool.
Hello.
Just see what she's up to these days. Happy birthday, Liz, by the way. It's my girlfriend's birthday. That's awkward. Anyways,
keep going.
Give it that little
Probably
silence to fill the.
Everyone have a good night. You guys talk to Nate and Shannon. I'm gonna go away.
Hello, world.
So she had this thing, and I don't know. I thought it was like like an audio quote that she had sampled over. It might be her own dub over, but it was something about being your own main character in life, because you have to like romanticize your life. You have to get to the point where you are appreciating everything happening around you like you are the main character, because if you don't, things are going to be underappreciated and you're going to let things pass you by. And I thought it was a really cool post. Yeah, I mean, I showed the video to Nate. I mean, bikinis are nice and everything like that, but she's also like in a helicopter at one point. She's like she's living her
playing
best
soccer
life
with her dogs.
She's living her best life.
Okay.
And we're not all going to be these traveling the world, posing in swimsuits. Again, onlyfans.com for Nate if you want. But I think that this is something where I saw that and I was listening. Like, it wasn't just watching the video. It was like as soon as the words started hitting, it was really, really interesting to me. That I think that's a very valid point. I think that this is something that, especially nowadays, you've been inside for so long. A lot of people, they were quarantined. They weren't able to travel. They weren't able to do the normal things that maybe they find themselves doing on a regular basis leading up to March.
Oh yeah.
I think that this is something that it's going to be a struggle for a lot of people to get back out and do the things that they love. I also think there's a population out there of everyone that will struggle to. They've been talking about doing this. They've been talking about traveling. They've been talking about buying a house or moving or trying to find another job, and there's going to be a little bit of a hindering aspect of it that we're not like. There's going to be even more of a struggle. Now it's all about safety. I need to play it safe. And I'll also throw it in there, and this is the one time, sorry, Shannon, that with Liz, again, happy birthday. It's interesting for those that know us. She turned 26 today, and next month I will be turning 40, and even I'm looking at it. You're drinking because I said my age.
Oh shit! Cheers.
No, I find it interesting though, like the different perspectives on things and seeing, between the COVID stuff and just in general. Like, I'm a Bears fan, and Gail Sayers passed away today. I think it was 77 years old.
Yep.
And there's these finite time perspectives that a lot of people lose out on, or they're like, right now everyone's talking about, how many people are ill or how many people have passed away from COVID or whatever it is, whatever your viewpoint is on it. My point is that it's not a time, in my opinion, to turtle up and get inside your shell. And I think that's how I want to set the table.
No.
So why do you think people are turtling up?
I think a lot of people do that. I mean, there's a natural tendency to a lot of people that it is a safety thing. I know that I did that. I've talked about it on the podcast before, is that it wasn't really turtling up, but going along with the check boxes. I've talked about that before in my life. And I'm very, very, very happy with the life lessons I've had. I wish that, you don't have to always go through the ups and downs, the downs especially. There's a lot of things when I look back, I don't have a whole lot of regrets in my life, but I do have those moments where I look back and I'm thankful that they unfolded the way they did, because today I got to, celebrate Liz's 26th birthday. If my life had taken different turns along the way, I may have never met Liz. I may have never experienced having her in my life. And I think it's fantastic. I am really, really happy at this point in my life. I also know that looking back, hindsight's always 20/20.
Yeah.
And so when I was going through my 20s, speaking of 20, going through my 20s, it was kind of a continuation of my mentality in high school and college. It was just like, what's the next step? This is what we do.
What's the next goal?
It wasn't a mindset of finite time. And so that's where I looked at it as, is that when you say, why is it that people do that? It's because it's just going through tomorrow's Thursday. So tomorrow I got to wake up. I got to go to work.
Got to clock in.
Hopefully I go to the gym and what am I going to do for dinner tomorrow night? Like, people look at these vacations, for example, that they book. Like, we're looking at, so Shannon is, you're already booked for April, right? And Liz and I think are going to join them and some other couples. You're looking at April. There are some people that when they book a vacation for April, between now, September, October to April, blitzes by because all they're thinking about is sitting on the beach in April.
Right.
So you miss everyday experience. First and foremost, in my opinion, you miss these things because you aren't doing this whole main character type of a thing. You look at it, you miss holidays. You kind of just like, oh, my birthday is in October. Like, okay, like, cool. Like, it's just another birthday. Like, oh, yeah, I guess we can go out to dinner. Yeah, I guess we'll have some family over. It's lackluster. You really, I mean, that's the way I look at it. So I did that for years, and I've tried to, and I continue to try to do is make it so that first and foremost, yeah, I have my days where I just don't feel like doing a whole lot, but overall, I want to enjoy the vast majority of days.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's why I quit my career 23 years in the trucking industry, because it was just a get up, clock in, do my job, go home, eat, hit the gym, repeat. Like, it was just, there was no, I didn't hate my job, but I didn't love it. But there was nothing like that was giving any rewards to the life aspect of things.
Did you ever have the mentality or the thought, even at 30 years old, that you don't know what you want to do when you're older?
Yeah, I kind of thought
I had that.
I thought I was stuck driving.
Yeah.
Like,
so you're like, I don't know what I want to do when I grow up.
I was good at it. I made a life out of it. And I was like, maybe this is it. I don't know. But there was always something burning inside that something had to change.
Something was missing.
Exactly.
It was lackluster.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, is that accurate?
Yeah. So that's what, like, we're talking about, be the main character. The career I'm in now, I switched from trucking into barbering, and I love talking to people. I love being in people's lives. I love hearing about their stories, how they got where they came from, or their jobs, or their families. And my role as a barber is to be a conductor and maybe
train conductor.
Yeah, like to change their day. Change their day for that 30 minutes I have them in that seat, to make them smile, laugh, get their mind off of whatever's bringing them down. I get to do that, and that fulfills me now. Like, that drives me every day to get up, cut hair, have those conversations, and just make these people laugh, have a good time.
And,
go ahead, Nate.
And you were one of those that, you didn't necessarily have life throw you a monkey wrench, and that's what caused you to change careers. Like, you just got tired of what you were doing.
Yeah, he stuck his own stick in his spokes.
Yeah, you wanted to do something else.
Yeah.
So you made the decision on your own terms to follow something that you wanted to do.
I'm 45, and I made this decision at 43 to change everything, change my direction, take this chance, with my my wife, and it was a huge gamble. Thank God it paid off, and it's a beautiful thing, and it's really opening more doors and avenues for us now, and it's been great.
See,
Sean, if you're gonna speak, you gotta hit the button. That's fine. Nate, go ahead.
See what I with my experience, and I know some other people have had similar experience as well. So with me, like I was getting, like I was in
check the board.
Yeah, make sure you didn't mute me.
No, you're probably
because we know that that's happened before. God damn it, Kyle.
You're
But
fine. Everybody's good.
but no, when I was working in labs, I didn't, I got tired of it like you did with trucking. I got tired of it, and I made the conscious choice on my own to pursue something else. I was going to pursue one career, but then it meant I had to stay where I was longer, and I didn't want to do that. So I completely shifted gears and did something I wanted to do, and that was be a cigar rep. Like that's something that for a while I'd wanted to do, and I got the opportunity to do that. Unfortunately, it didn't work out as well as I wanted it to. And that experience, the way it worked out, like when I was doing that job, it was absolutely positive. I loved it. The way it ended left such a sour and bitter taste that, then when I was forced to make a change and do whatever, it's always been hard for me to get that mentality back to want to pursue something I want. Like, because of that negative experience, it's been easier for me, like Steve said, to turtle up and just like kind of go with it and just do whatever it takes to take care of me, to take care of my household, and do the things that we want to do. I kind of miss, in some aspects, having that drive to pursue something I want. Because it left such a bad taste in my mouth and was and the way it impacted me and my household and my wife, I never want to experience that again. I never want to put my wife through that situation again. And so I'm always very nervous and hesitant.
But
so I think that's normal. I think the nervous and hesitant part is extremely normal.
Yeah.
But the other side of the coin, in my opinion, is that if you continue down a path, and I'm not saying that's where you're at, Nate, but I think that's kind of where Shannon was. I rolled with my career in my 20s, where it was like promotion after promotion and a little more money and a little more money. And it was like, I always joked around that was a college summer job gone horribly wrong. And I ended up being 30 and the GM of the company, which was great.
Oops.
But and
I bet you missed that paycheck though.
I am happy doing what I'm doing, and I do get compensated. I think more than fairly for what I do. More money always is nice, but I'll say that ended up with me putting on weight. It ended up with me divorced. It ended up with me not knowing what I wanted and who I was anymore. And it was just kind of like when you fill all those check boxes,
you became a character.
The next check box was, hey, we're going through marriage counseling. Do you think we should start trying to have a kid? And I love my ex, and we, at that time, you're in that mode where you don't know how to handle life. No one does. I mean, even at my age, I don't know how to handle everyday situations, but now I have a different mindset and a different head on my shoulders, thankfully, that I approach it differently. And back then, and what I was kind of getting to with Nate, with if you slip down too far down the safe road, that is where you're the main character of a story that you don't even want to fucking read, or you don't even want to watch that movie, because I tell you what, it's season 6 of that show, and it just got kind of boring. It's the same thing over and over again, and the viewership goes down.
Just fast forward to the next scene.
Yeah, and you're like, all right, well, I mean, I'm gonna go watch season 2 because that's when it was actually fun and funny, and there was new stuff, and now it's kind of the same thing. I'm not hitting on you only, Nate. It's like it's the fact that I think that this is what a lot of people may go through at times, is that when they're in a rut, that is, again, if you're going to use this kind of idea of being a main character and appreciating it, is that you got to have some fresh writing. You have to have some new experiences, in my opinion. And it's not just taking the show to a beach for a vacation season,
right?
And all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, it's fresh scenery. It's the same show. God.
But it takes
jokes.
It takes work though. Like when you go to make that change and you want to be that main character.
Yeah.
for me, when I started down this road in 2018, there were so many roadblocks that were blocking me from getting into school, like little debts here and there, stuff, just it was crazy. And it was almost, it made me stop for a second.
Yeah.
I was like, screw this. This is not for me. I can't do this. And that was at the end of 2017. So 2018 shows up. I'm still like, screw this. But then
little did you know 2020 is around the corner.
Right. Right.
None of us saw it fucking coming.
And I was just like, and that little burning inside me just came back up. Like, this is what I want to do. I got to make it. I have to make it happen. Nobody else is going to make it happen.
Yeah.
So I sold everything I owned. We got rid of our house. We paid off all of our debts. I paid off all the debts I needed to get into school. I got in February 2019 and it was off and running, but it was hard work. Like, I had to give up a lot and sacrifice. And my wife, thank God that she loves me and keeps me around. She was on for the ride.
You guys just celebrated 10 years of marriage, right?
Yeah, 10 years of marriage
Amazing.
last Friday. Thank you.
Thank you for letting us hang out and buy.
Oh, that was awesome.
Get you some whiskey.
But when I said, hey, this is my dream and like this is what's burning inside, she said, let's do it.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. And I was like, shit, let's go.
My wife was the same way.
And that makes all the difference.
Yeah. Changing careers, my wife was very much behind because she knew I wanted to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But she also was like, all right, let's give this a trial. Like, let's reevaluate this after 4 or 5 months, because being a rep, you're on the road 5 days a week. So I'm leaving home Monday morning and I'm not getting home till Friday night. That means she gets to see me Saturday, Sunday. And, that can be very tough in that industry.
Yeah.
Being married and having that. There are some people that make it work, like Josh Bentley, Miguel, like those are people that have made it work. Jonathan, oh yeah, thanks, Steve, for putting that up. Yes, my wife is still very much behind me.
There's up there. She just started watching. At that moment, she started watching. She's like, yeah, still here.
She's still
supportive.
She is still supportive. She still wants me to do the things that I want to do, the things that I'm passionate about. It's great to have someone who's in your corner.
Always. Sean,
that makes a world of difference.
It does. What do you want to say?
Well, I'm kind of at the point where I'm at the opposite of what I did. I have a career change, not by choice, but it was a week ago. I was furloughed from my job.
COVID inspired.
Yes. I've been in the aviation industry for this April, will be 30 years. And it just, things aren't working out for the company. Excuse me. Went pretty far into debt and they started furloughing people. And I'm at a point now. And even before that all happened, I was still kind of like what you said, Steve. It's the same season. It's season 30 and it's getting old. And I always kind of had this just glazed over look and not sure what I wanted to do. It's good money. And now I'm forced to.
Good money helps.
Yeah. Well, they did.
I've always said money will allow you to put up with a lot of bullshit.
Right. So now I'm looking to start to work at Amazon next week. Probably taking
start
October 4th.
What are you doing over there?
Just warehouse stuff. 410 Sunday to Wednesday.
Money.
Yeah, $500 sign-on bonus, and but it's a 60% pay cut at least. But this is where I gotta give my wife credit. She's kind of on top of with the budget, and we looked at things, canceled cable, did some refinancing of their house, and at the end of the day, we're probably saving ourselves about $800 a month and payments and everything else.
What was your cable bill?
It was 200. Now it's down to 100 because we got
all the channels.
Almost.
How
but
much HBO or Cinemax did you watch?
Very little.
You pay for it?
Well, we did at the beginning, and now it's not. It was
cable, bro.
We got rid of it. It's funny. The first 2 years, like, oh, it's only 150, and then you forget about it, and then all of a sudden the next bill's 200. But now we're down to 100, and with the refinance and doing that,
refinance the house.
Yeah, and
dude, it's a great time to do that.
And I think by doing that helps us obviously a lot. But we made it work where even with this job now, we can cover our budget and then our balance, and then probably save about $1,000 a month to put towards savings.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's not, and that's the thing is that this isn't like the end all be all. Like
Right.
doing this, it's better than unemployment.
Right.
It's keeping you active, keeps the mind going, and this is I'm going to keep this metaphor going to a point. This is like the comeback season.
Right. And I know with my like what I did in my job in aviation, what I've been doing for probably the past 15 years is like a lot of it's you know, thinking outside the box, doing a lot of operations, a lot of logistics and stuff like that, and with it after 90 days you're able to move up within the company. And I think I can maybe apply that what I've learned for all those years to down the road. And that's more of a transportation company as well. Obviously they just deliver freight, not people.
Yeah,
like
but it's a logistics company. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. And so and I've been studying up, and you got people that like it and don't like it, and I'll be walking probably 14 miles a day, so I'm probably gonna lose some weight in the process of doing that because it's a 1 million square foot warehouse. But it's been kind of trying though this past week, just trying to figure out what I want to do. But it's bittersweet because I will miss people I work with, but at the same time I've kind of been like in such a lull with doing, I can only go so far in aviation, and I've been there. Can I go to another company and do the same thing? Probably. Do I want to? I don't know. I mean, this is more, I'm more about being hands-on. I've always liked the idea of doing that. Just being more physically active than sitting behind a desk. And, it's been a week since this all happened. So it's been a very emotionally trying it sometimes, but my wife and I have our ups and downs this past week with what we're going to do. And then we figure it out. And, but anyway, it's interesting with how this all came about, with how everything just moves right along. And in any given moment like that, it can go away. And whether you're
absolutely can.
And whether you like it or not, and your job or not, and you're bringing in money. My concern was, we're going to lose all this money. And, and fortunately my wife was very savvy with everything. Says we can still make this work. And so I'm okay with it.
Before COVID happened,
we were killing it.
Well, I'm sure you were.
Yeah.
But did you feel like with your career, you were in a rut? Like it was just the same old?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was kind of like that. But at the same time too, I was working from home. I only worked 4 days.
Yeah.
And it was kind of an easy gig, but
that was before all this.
Yeah.
I thought you didn't go to the office ever.
No, I haven't been in an office since 2017. My other jobs have been like that. Jeez. So it's okay though. I'm ready to move on and try something different. It's each day is different. Some days I'm like, I wake up and I can't wait. Other days I'm like, what the hell am I doing? So it just all depends on the day, but I'm just excited to get moving forward and get in there and get working.
So Ray put it out there, you make it sound as if the quote safe mode end quote is the wrong way. Everyone can't take the same road. Life is as individual as people. Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I don't mean to make it sound like if you're doing the same thing for 20 years or 30 years that you're doing the wrong thing. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that as if, as Nate just asked, did you feel like you were in a rut? They talk about, and we're not going to dive into it because we're not experts, but everyone talks about, how, depression and anxiety is building and building. It's like, sometimes it doesn't matter what you do or the safe mode. Safe mode is fantastic. If you're making money and you enjoy what you do, you enjoy your day to day, you enjoy waking up by yourself or with someone, or you enjoy, your kids and their hobbies. And, we make it sound sometimes on here and I talk to a lot of individuals in the industry that I'm in with cigars that, I was talking to this guy the other day, and he's getting into cigars and bourbons and stuff like that. And he came in and he did a corporate thing for a while. Then they bought a property with some farmland and all this stuff. And now he's probably in his 50s ish, maybe, mid 50s. And kids are getting grown. And now he finds this time at the end of the day to smoke a cigar and have a glass of whiskey by himself. And he's sitting out there, with a headlamp on, reading a book. And he even said to me, he's like, that for the last 15, 16 years or so, he's like, all it's been is other people in my life.
Mm.
And that's fine. That's the safe mode. I'm not saying it's the wrong way to go. If it's eating you up every day and you're doing day to day, week to week, month to month, and all of a sudden you find that the last 5 years you're just in that rut and you're not, you wouldn't, like I said, you wouldn't even read your own story. If you got other people to take care of, you got to take care of yourself, and you don't know what to do, that's fine. If you can transition at some point, it shouldn't take a international pandemic to reset your bearings, but sometimes it does. Sometimes it takes you getting fired or furloughed. Sometimes it takes a breakup, a divorce. Sometimes it takes a heart attack or a major health issue. You know, Sean was on the program several months ago. What was the episode? You know,
93.
93.
93.
December 3rd, maybe.
And talk about someone that has had these reset buttons thrown literally in his face.
Right.
Like he's taking the hit by pitch in the head literally. And I think that this is something that, you know, that's a mindset. I admire people that can look at something, and I have some friends in my life that I try to reach out to sometimes, especially now when I feel like I'm in a rut, that I reach out to them just to say, hey man, you got a moment, and I need to just kind of unload where I'm at, just to help get recentered, because their mental state, better or worse, they can cut ties if they need to.
Was it Josh called that the board? Was that
board of directors? Yeah,
yep.
Yeah. So I've got some board of directors that they will cut off a relationship, friendship or otherwise, waking up on a Tuesday, because they just like, no, I don't see a future here. I don't see any benefit to me, let alone anyone else. And I'm not saying that you just like skip town on a family of 4. I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying the safe road is bad. But if you're on a safe path and you can still smile and cook a breakfast with your family and enjoy yourself and go to bed at the end of the day feeling good about what you're doing, that's a safe path to stay on. That's fine. I'm not saying you have to have this overhyped social media entrepreneur, you know, like I got to get more, I got to do more, I'm not fulfilling my potential. It's not always important. If you're good, you're good. If you're happy, you're happy. The people around you are feeding off your happiness and your positivity. That's good. That's a show. Again, being the main character of a story, that's a show or a book that you're like, you know what? I go back to this show, or I go back to the next book in this series, because it makes me feel safe. It makes me feel good. It's like good scenery. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I've seen this place before, but this is my favorite vacation spot, because I can sit out with a cup of coffee in the morning and look out on the woods or a creek.
Oh yeah.
And I really appreciate it. I can look out on the beach with a umbrella drink, and I can feel good, and I can't wait to get back here next
That's
year.
why I love camping.
Yeah, you love camping. You got a camper on your vehicle. It is a camper.
Well, what I was going to add with what Sean was talking about, the reason I'd asked him that question about if he was in a rut, if he felt like he was in a rut before the pandemic happened, like, you know, the pandemic happening and Sean getting furloughed, like, what did that, you know, yes, Sean's taking a pay cut, but it caused his household to change how they did things and trim some of the fat off in the house and do some other things
and communicate, which is important.
Yeah. So now the two of them,
and Teresa are talking, I'm sure, a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and probably more than you did when you were just kind of doing your day to day.
Yeah, because now,
for better or worse, I think better right now.
Because now with you know with things having drastically changed so much, you know, there has to be that communication. They have to figure out how they're going to do things, because they're no longer just going through the motions. Like, you actually have to make conscious decisions and make an effort to be able to do the things you want to do now.
Right.
And so you're actually more involved.
Yes.
And so it was almost like a blessing because
Yeah.
getting fired or furloughed sucks. Losing 60% of your pay sucks.
Kylie just
But-
chimed in and said, "Who got fired?"
Sean.
I did, Kylie.
Well, her company just shut down after
Oh, yeah.
90 years.
Yeah.
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 Welcome, Kylie.
Yeah. But it may be an opportunity for Kylie to do something else, do something closer to home. Maybe she's not on the road.
Mhm.
Maybe she gets to spend more time with the people that are close to her. It may present itself as an opportunity. I know, like when I got let go, I did not see that as an opportunity whatsoever.
Saw red.
Oh, absolutely. I
It's
saw.
just easy to do.
Oh yeah, there were a few people I wanted to beat the shit out of.
I also
But
was blown away when I got fired.
But you know what it did? Me getting let go from the position that I thought was like a dream job for me, something I wanted to do. I spend more time with my wife. I spend more time at home.
Yeah.
We do more things together. And just like with Sean's situation, like all of a sudden taking that big pay cut, like we had to work on things together as a couple in order to be able to do what we want to do and save money, towards a car, towards a house, towards a vacation. Whereas, if I was still making the money I was as a rep, buying a car or a house would be easier, a lot easier. Would have bought a house by now with what I was making. But, now we actually have to spend more time together and figure shit out.
So when I look at it, can I get a little bit more of that EW?
No.
May I have more? I look
Please,
at it as,
bartender.
again, same type of scenario here. When we stay with the theme of being a main character. Okay. Jesus, I didn't know how to say when.
Take a little pinch
Oh,
there,
my gosh.
friend.
So my point is that it's the same thing as if you get that next opportunity, right? So you have these let's call them lightly the hiccups in the road, whether they are self-driven or they are handed to you in a deck of cards and a deal. You don't make the same mistakes. This is the whole thing is say you were happy with the job, you were happy with a relationship, and someone else ruins it or comes in and says, "No, this isn't going to continue." You see red, Nate, like you're saying, you see red. That's fine, but you can't continue to see red. Now you have to say, all right, so if I'm on the outside looking in, and I'm going to introduce this part of it, and I don't know who has seen the Truman Show.
Me.
Yeah, everyone in the garage. I'm sure a lot of you listeners out there have seen the Truman Show. The thing I like about that is when you didn't know that everyone was in it on the outside, you just kind of ran through it and it was fine. As soon as you realize that other people can actually affect your day and they can affect your happiness, the character in that movie started kind of freaking out, like what's going on. And I think that is something that when you get out of that bubble of that safe mode, or you get out of that bubble of the rut, you get out of that bubble of even being happy, life's not over. It's not done yet. And that's where, for me, I look at my opportunity now. I don't devalue my previous relationships, my previous jobs, or anything like that. I know now I could do some of the things differently and probably better, but I have to keep my head on straight and know that being the main character of my own life is that I want to move forward the way I want to, using those lessons. I want to be able to use, like if I was watching myself in my 20s or most, like some of my 30s, I would have probably turned off the show, closed the book, and be like, I don't like where this character is going. I really don't. It's gotten stale. It's not always depressing, but it's just like, I don't know why the writer is doing that. I don't know why the character is going down this road. Like, can't they see that what they're doing is whether it be safe mode, whether it be whatever, like they're not happy. Like this, like it's annoying me reading this story or watching this story unfold because they're not taking care of themselves. They're not letting themselves enjoy what's around them. And that's where now it's like, if I'm rewriting a story, you can't go back. So now I'm rewriting it for going forward. This is where now I want to take the opportunities that I have and hopefully create new ones and relationships, like with you guys, everyone out there, with the podcast, with the job I have, with the relationship I have, is that I have, fortunately, another opportunity to write a new story, to write some new chapters, to write a new season of a show that is not the same. I got rehired on a new show.
They got some new writers.
Spinoff.
I would love to fire some of the writers from my my teens and 20s. I want to talk to them if they're out there. God, if you're listening.
Do you think it's easier now because the difference in careers?
Before you finish that, my knee-jerk reaction, no, it's not easier. No, I'm just saying, because that's what I think of. A lot of people think that with experience it's easier. I know.
I was gonna. Do you find it easier to focus on yourself and your household now? And is it because you have a different career, or do you think that when you were in your 20s, you just weren't focused on the right things?
Right off focus.
Is it the career change that caused you to change focus, or do you think that if you were still in that career, by this point you would have figured out that you needed to do things differently? You still could have been in that career, but changed your focus to.
I think it's so. It for me, and I'm not trying to cop out of the question. I think that the experiences were very much needed for me to be at the point that I'm at right now. Yeah, everyone wants smooth sailing. So it's that age old thing that if you could talk to your younger self and say, hang on a second, let me show you where this goes in this mentality. Let me show you where, if it goes. Remember the Choose Your Own Adventure books?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Loved them.
Let me see ahead. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Who out there in this garage, if you had a Choose Your Own Adventure book that they're like, if you choose to do this, you go to page 56. If you choose to do this, you go to page 34. Did anyone actually just make the decision and go to page 56 or 34? I got to tell you.
I did both.
Looked at both.
You'd look at both, right? And you looked at both. Shannon, did you ever read any of these?
No. I just learned how to read.
Yeah.
I'm just catching up.
Those Choose Your Own Adventure books. I don't know if they're a thing anymore, but those were one of those things.
Or like
that
you find the page.
No one wants to. That's the thing, is if you know that both scenarios are out there, it's like, if I accept this job, if I go talk to that girl,
will this be marriage?
If I go talk to that girl, am I going to 54, page 54 or 36, whatever it is? I'm fucking reading both pages.
Yeah.
Both know. We all know that we're all going to read that.
And then that page is like, and then you start looking at, okay, that one goes to, I don't like either one of those. Let me go back.
Yeah, one's marriage and the other one's herpes.
Alexander, right? Never. I always read parts at both.
34 sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, one's marriage and one's herpes. You got to
Jesus Christ.
Or you find the page that had the happy ending, which was never at the last page. You always the Venture books. Like you find, the ending, the happy ending of the story.
Whoa, happy ending.
Oh, yeah. Choose Your Own Adventure.
Yeah. And then you're like, okay, how did I get here? And find the page that led here. Okay, how did I get here? And you just work your way back.
So it may be a metaphor, but I'm saying, like, literally, it's like, if you do this, you want to go to page 50, 56 or go to 34, and you're like, all right, well, I think, all right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go to page. I'm gonna choose option 1. I'm gonna go to page 56, and it's like, you died in a snake pit. And you're like, God damn it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, all right, so what was 34? It's like, oh, you're walking down a rainbow road of happiness. And you're like, my gut is way off. Like, this is bullshit.
I remember reading one where
I'm doomed because I'm going to end up in a snake pit if I go with my gut.
I remember reading one where they said if you chose one, it's like, oh, you just cheated. You die a horrible death. Like they catch you on your trying to choose more than one option. The book I read.
Which is a life lesson.
Yeah.
You should never cheat. You're right.
You know, it might sound crazy,
Cheaters
but
never prosper.
in my 20s, I started having this mentality of, you know, those big picture puzzle things. You have to put them all together, you know.
You know, puzzle.
A puzzle, correct.
That's good. That's kind of like a couple weeks ago.
That's just a puzzle.
Just a puzzle.
Like
I said
toasted bread.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Well, I started approaching life as my life was this puzzle. And every move that I made was another piece to that puzzle that was bringing my picture together. Every relationship, good or bad, every decision I made work-wise, good or bad, it was this puzzle that was building this picture of my life. And as I did that, everything kind of made sense to me. Like, yeah, it was a bad decision I made, but here's another part of my life I can move on from. I can look back now and see this picture.
Yeah.
And you know the
Some of
puzzle
the pieces are crammed in there. Like,
oh
they
yeah,
don't really
they're
fit
kind of
there.
they're a little not fitting correctly, but
You put a corner piece in the middle, and you're like,
Absolutely.
You can see the edges, man. Like, I don't know why that's.
I mean the puzzle won't be done till I go home to my maker, but I love it. Like I love that mentality, how I look at it, because all decisions are decisions, good or bad.
Yeah.
And there's a lesson in every one of those decisions.
Yep.
You
I
never
think we should
fail,
bring
you
back-
learn.
I
You
think
know.
we should bring back Choose Your Own Adventure. Avi, who knows you cut Avi's hair.
Yes.
Yeah, he says he wasn't lying. He just learned to read. It was a 10-piece puzzle. That's fine. I mean, sometimes it's harder. You know what I mean?
Start
It's
somewhere.
ages 3 and up there's an up, right? You know, it's not just for 3
There's
to
an
5-year-olds. It always
Yep.
is and up.
Right.
I think.
He
That
looks
sometimes
and goes,
scares
"Hey, it only
me."
took me 3 years to do it.
What was that, Sean?
So that sometimes scares me when you
10-piece puzzles.
no 3 and up, and you're like, well, 3-year-olds can do it. I'm up. I can't do it. Oh shit. You know?
It's like math anymore.
Yeah.
No, I think being the main character of your own life is something that the whole point of this, it's not about the smooth sailing. It's not always. And I see, you know, Nate, you commented on that. Alexander Rice says, I mean, a night of drinking can turn into a choose your own adventure.
Absolutely.
You're right. I was
Absolutely.
watching a movie last night. I refrain. I was watching Moana for the first time, which is a Disney flick. And I'm so gassed because I haven't been able to sleep because the dog is taking up most of the bed. And as the largest individual in the bed, I have the least amount of space.
That's how it works.
Yeah. So, anyways, I get home and it's you know it's Liz's birthday eve, and you know she's like, "You can go to bed. I know you're tired after the last few nights of not sleeping." I'm like, no, we're good. And so we watch a movie, and here's where the balance is that we're watching Moana, which again is a Disney film. I understand that, but
The Rock's in it.
apparently The Rock's in it.
That's why you.
Yep.
Which I'm good with. Yeah. So, but apparently, so I eventually crashed. I didn't drink all that much, but I had like 3 or 4 drinks, and I don't remember going to bed. However, Liz has informed me that towards the end of the movie, drunk Steve says, "Fucking knew it." I saw this coming. She's like, "You had it all figured out." I was like, I still need to watch the other movie because I don't remember what happened. So the lesson there is, as who was it that Alexander says, a night of drinking sometimes can turn into a choose your own adventure. Sometimes when you actually let go is kind of the roundabout way of me saying this, is that when you trust yourself, sometimes it takes a little bit of whiskey to trust yourself and not overthink things. Your gut is actually right.
Mm-hmm.
So here's an exercise for anyone that has a choose your own adventure book still. Drink whiskey while doing
So
it.
how many people follow their gut?
You know, I don't think enough. I think that's kind of the point is again, going back to this Instagram post that kind of inspired this, is you have to appreciate that you are the main character in your life, and you have to to almost sell yourself on what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Because if you don't go with your gut, if you're that friend that you're like, yeah, let's go do that. Yeah, just tell me, like, text me, like, let me know when you want to get together and all that stuff. And then that friend texts you like, hey, we're going to grab a dinner, and we'd love to have you come with us. You said you wanted to come out, and then you're at home, and you're like, yeah, no, I really want to go, but I don't know, I don't feel comfortable. I'm tired. I feel like it's a long day. There's a balance between saying no sometimes when you are exhausted. That's the one thing that I need to learn a bit more of. But there is the other side of it that I did go through that for years, where I would want to go experience some things, and I said no because it was out of my comfort zone. It was I was more in that safe route. I was, whether it be like, I don't want to say you got to overextend yourself, but it's like, do I really need to go spend $20? That's one thing. Now, if like Sean, you're like, hey, I got this new job at Amazon. They just promoted me to this 6-figure position, and I want to go celebrate in Hawaii. I'd love for you to join me. I'm like, send me pictures, bud. I can't afford it. Ray's out there, and he and Bobby Crow, who's been on, we were having a conversation. He's like, yeah, like, come out and visit me in Vietnam. I'm like, I would love to. This isn't the year, and next year probably isn't the year. And I need to, if I want to go experience that, and I want to be the main character, and I want to have that, if I want that experience enough, I got to figure out how to do it. And some experiences aren't. I would love to experience buying a Lamborghini. That would be really cool, to like win the lottery, or like have a job and sell enough cigars that I can literally just write the check or pay cash for a Lamborghini. I'm not gonna. I don't see that coming. So there is a little bit of a balance of reality. But I think that you do have to figure it out. If you want to do something, figure it out, and then trust your gut to a point that there's a reason that I have that inside me that I want to go do this, or I want to do this for someone else, which we haven't really talked about a whole lot, is that there is a point that you have to have either that safety or the yearning to do really a little bit more or make some sacrifices, because part of being the main character in your life is not always about you going to, jet set wherever, or buy this, or go do this, or drive a certain car, or anything, be able to go buy a $200 bottle of whiskey. It's the fact that, I text Nate and I'm like, hey man, like, do you think you can bring over a bottle of whiskey for a secondary bottle? And so he's like, I had more time. I grabbed this, and now we have this bottle of whiskey that if you felt guilty about asking someone to do something for you, because you didn't want to hear a no, you didn't want to hear a, well, you've never done anything for me. There's a reevaluation there that I think that you can actually benefit from, that if you live your life as the main character, and that, like, hey, I surround myself with people that we take care of each other.
Well, the word you said, sacrifice, I think.
And I appreciate the bottle, man.
I think this day and age that people forget about sacrificing things to get to the next step, because we're so worried about image and, oh, look what I got. Like, I got to keep this thing up in front of like these people here. You got to sacrifice things, man, to get to places that, I had to take 3 steps back to take this 1 step forward, and it sucked. It was hard.
Stumbled along the way.
Stumbled, fell, scraped my knee, blacked an eye. You know what I mean? But
messed up a haircut
or 3.
Sorry, Avi. It's good to see you out there, Avi.
Yeah, I'll fix that next time.
That's where the shaved head comes in.
Yeah.
Sean, what you got?
Yeah. I like what you're saying there, but you can also kind of switch it to, you don't always have to choose your own adventure. Sometimes your own adventure is chosen for you. And this is my life, where obviously getting furloughed, that wasn't my choice, but it's in with the brain tumor and the heart thing. And those were just thrown at me. And I think that's where you've got to take that and make the best of what you have. Just sitting here talking about it tonight kind of makes me realize I'm excited about my a new part of my like I'm going to be 50 next month. And
You are pretty old, yeah.
I know I'm old as F. And
I'll carry you home.
all right, thank you. But the thing is that if you don't have the option to choose, sometimes things are thrown at you and you're forced to make the best of what you have.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot from all those, even the ones from last week, and I think that grounds, at least for me, it grounded me and made me realize what's important and what isn't important. And I'm thankful for it. I honestly am thankful for all the things that ever happened to me, whether it's physical, with health, or this furlough. There's an adventure ahead of me in 2 weeks from now that I don't know what it's going to be, but I can't wait to try it.
Yeah.
So
but Sean, that's the whole thing, and I didn't have this as part of the conversation leading into this, because I am not as prepared as I may have been at like episode 80 something. You know what I mean? Because again, it's tough. I look for all this inspiration, and right now, inspiration is tough to find without being very extreme. But it is a choose your own adventure, and that's the whole thing. Is I'm not trying to get poetic or inspirational here, but you can't look at both pages. You can't look at page 56 and 34. And sometimes the good choose your own adventure books, that was the best part. If you guys remember back to this, and I think this is very, very, it's very pertinent to what we're talking about, is that sometimes if you guys read those books, there are times you chose, all right, I'm gonna read both pages, and both of them were okay. It wasn't the end of the story. You're like, well, shit, now I don't know which one to pick.
You got to track back.
Yeah, you're like, all right, so like, yeah, page 56, looking pretty good. Page 34, looking pretty good. I feel like we go through that in life, that it is a choose your own adventure thing, where it's like, all right, so, well, shit, now I was ready to be a yes or no between the pages. Now I'm even more confused because my gut was saying page 54, but that looked okay, and 36 looked okay. And now, I don't know if you, again, to take this even further, I was one of those that was like, all right, so on page 56, at the end of it, I got page 68 and I got page 102.
Got so many more pages.
Like, okay, so now I've got my
That's what I was bringing up earlier.
I got my thumbs and fingers in like all these different pages, and I got bookmarks in there, and I'm like, all right, like you're trying to win at this book.
Yeah.
Well,
Which is the ironic part, because that's what I'm saying, is that it's constantly a choose your own adventure book that we're doing. You have control over it. And when shit happens and you're like, all right, I'm going to follow this path for a while. And all of a sudden I lost my job. I got broken up with, I got whatever it might be. I didn't see it coming.
Right.
But the story wasn't over. It wasn't you ended up in a snake pit and you're dead.
Right.
I think with the video games right now,
You died of dysentery.
Yeah, that's. I think like Grand Theft Auto. It's like you go down a path of Grand Theft Auto. It's like you're wasted and you're dead, and you're like, well, shit, I'll just start over. It's like that's not a good.
There's not a
lesson
reset button in life. Well, but
Well,
no,
sometimes there is.
when the thing that
I want a contra code where it's
yeah,
you got
The-
30 lives.
the
Up, down, left, right, BA, select, start if you're playing with two players.
Yep.
one of the things that popped in my head when you're talking about the choose your own adventure, like, so let's say, we were looking at page 56 and page 34, and page 56 was negative, page 50 and page 34 was positive. Most people are going to sit there and say, okay, that's negative, that's positive, I'm going to go the positive route. However, if you keep going down
Setting you
that
up,
path,
man. It's fucking
it
setting you
may
up.
not end up like
Right.
the next step may be positive, but the end result may not be positive.
Right.
Because sometimes going through the negative is going to teach you something, or it's going to build part of your character to where further on down the story,
Yep.
things get better. Whereas if you did things that were happy now, then it got worse later on.
Well, let's go back to what Shannon was saying about the fact that he takes 3 steps back. Same shit is like if you chose page 56 And it's like, you take a $40,000 a year paycheck decrease. I'm not going down that road. Like
Next
that's
page.
stupid. Yeah. And page 34, you get a raise. And you're like, well, clearly taking the raise.
Yeah.
This is obvious.
Yeah.
That is what we call now clickbait.
Yes.
I remember when I was talking about, quitting my job and going to school for barbering. I'm in the trucking world with all these big burly hillbilly truckers. And they just looked at me like I was the craziest person on the planet to give up this secure job. They're like, you want to go cut hair for a living?
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the things, and
we're doing that because we don't have another option.
Well,
Some
before
people
you
look
start,
at,
Nate, now I'm doing my job. I control my schedule. I control what I do when I go to work, when I don't want to go to work. And these dudes got to get up at 4 a.m. and go clock in and work a 12-hour day, bitch about it the whole damn time. And I'm having the greatest time of my life right now. That was my page 34, 56.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's funny. Like, so we got Bobby Hirschman, who was commenting about the age comments about, me saying that, Sean's old. He says he's 53. He also said that his son plays Grand Theft Auto. Maybe I'm late. And then you have Ryan Jones out there saying, got to get the Game Genie for Chicos. Now,
Yes.
I know you're older if you know what a Game Genie is.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy.
I had one for Nintendo.
Ray says, is there negative? It's only negative if you allow it to be. Negative is going to be part of it. That's the story you want to watch or read. You want to. There's only one way, and that's where I look at it. Is that if my life so far was a book, now it wouldn't be a bestseller. I understand that. Maybe it's more of a blog that I've got like 18 subscribers to, but there's something that you can learn from the protagonist. They go through hardships, and there are negatives. And Ray Cheshire actually said, if you looked at me in my 20s, and I don't know where it's at, but he said you'd be surprised I made it. And that's the whole thing about it, is that as the main character, you gotta learn. You gotta play the game with the cards that you're dealt. And I think that you've got to be aggressive to a point where you don't sell the farm. There's all sorts of metaphors and classic statements that I think you can say, but you have to appreciate that you are important.
Yeah.
And that's where the whole be the main character is. It's okay even if the main character plays sidekick to whatever your role is in the story, or whatever situation that you're in at that moment. You don't always have to be the star of the show either, but to you, that's what's important.
But
there's sometimes that you are the side story. You're the spin-off. So it doesn't.
Sometimes you're Robin.
You always have to be the yeah. You don't have to always be the person on stage. You don't always have to be the person that's making the most money, that has the thing that everyone looks up to. But you are that person that whatever you're doing, you have gotten to the point where you are confident in what you're doing. You take care of your people, and sometimes you might be that best supporting actor. I think that's okay.
That's absolutely okay.
Comedy sidekick.
Or the what?
Comedy sidekick.
The comedy sidekick. I think there's something there that you can truly be genuine to yourself, and that personality, that mindset, that life or career or relationship path will take its lefts and rights. But if you have an active role in that, that's my biggest thing. Is what I don't like is that if you don't consider yourself the main character in your own life, is that you will let everything else dictate what tomorrow brings.
Now, let me ask you this. How many people out there, this includes me because this is what the path I kind of followed. You get stuck in the rut of your parents life, how they built a life, and you see that as the only way. My dad, he worked for Pepsi for 35 years, and he built a beautiful life for us.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what I said earlier.
Yeah, and I
you
saw
guys-
that, and I was like, shit, this is the path. This is how you do it. And I got stuck in that rut. That was like the only thing I knew. Like, how many people out there like that? You know, like they see how their parents build a life, and they kind of follow in that rut.
I
And
think
they don't branch out and experience what really makes them tick.
You either follow it or you rebel it.
Right.
So I had a little bit of that because I brought up earlier in the comments, I brought up my dad. So my dad worked for UPS for 35 years, was a package truck driver for 28 of them, retired in his 50s, and now gets to play golf and smoke cigars, and he works a part-time job 2 days a week just to be able to play golf and smoke
Good
cigars.
life. That's good
Yeah.
life.
But he had to put in a lot of sweat equity to be able to do that.
That's right.
And that's kind of how that generation was. Like you get in at a good company, and maybe you're one that's fortunate enough to have a pension.
Yep.
And like I had a great uncle that retired from Ford with a pension, and so like you do that job, you stay at the company, even if you don't like the job, you stay at that job, you stay with that company, and you just eventually you just get by. Yeah, my dad my dad was a truck driver, my mom was a secretary. They were able to raise both me and my sister. We never had to worry about going hungry or anything like that. And then when I was driving to my first interview for the cigar sales rep job,
Yeah.
I'm driving up
That's
65
a good story.
in Indiana. All right. Because I got to drive to Chicago for my interview. And I'm driving up, and my dad calls me on the phone. And so I put it on speaker. My wife is riding shotgun with me, and driving up, he's like, "Hey, what are you into?" I'm like, "Well, I'm driving to Chicago. I got an interview tomorrow." He's like, "It's not for the cigar thing, is it?" I was like, "Yeah, it is." And he goes, "I hope it goes well, but not too well." Because
It's a different mentality, right? So
Yes,
he has a
'cause-
different mentality.
because-
He thought that this is not a safe thing.
he thought
Yeah.
that the company I worked for, I used to work at Battelle. And
They're doing okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
my division, not so much, but yeah, the company, they're doing fine. But he looked at that as one of those companies that once you get on, like you just stay there. You put up with the bullshit.
Yep.
You stay there because
Yeah, but the mentality now is you do 2 years as a resume builder,
and then jump ship.
and then you move on.
But
there's a different mentality.
it is. But I mean, he
It's
thought
not-
he thought I needed to stay where I was. And I'm like, you don't understand. I'm not happy where I am. And in his mind, he's like, yeah,
What-
but you're putting food on the table.
Yeah.
I'm like,
What does happy have to do with it?
I'm like, but this isn't what I want to do. I don't enjoy doing what I do. You drove a package truck for 28 years. There were a lot of days that I remember you coming home and you were just pissed off because you had too many stops on your route. Like there were more days you complained about it than you were happy about it. Like same
That's
with
okay,
me. There's
though.
more days that I'm not happy than I'm happy. And I don't want that. I want to do something that I enjoy. I want, I want to take control of my life.
You want to be the main character?
I don't want to just do the same thing every day, work for the same company my whole life if I don't like it.
Here's my thing though, is that there is a part of that, and I think that so here's what I'm thinking of when you're talking about that is what's his name? Kevin James, King of Queens.
Yeah.
That you can be the main character and be a delivery driver, but it's the things you fill your life with. Again, job is not everything. But if that's what's important and you want to be happy, that's fine. But there are plenty of opportunities to have a safe job, as we talked about earlier, that there's nothing wrong with the safe route, but you have to fill your cup up with other things. It's not just the career. If you're making good enough money or more than enough money, you got to fill yourself. You got to fill your cup up with people, with things that make you happy, that can't just go away like that. That's the whole thing, in my opinion. It's like, if you're doing that, you're like, all right, so I'm working so hard so I can buy this type of house, this type of car. Terrible. That's not happiness. That's
I lived that life.
That's a high.
I lived that life. You get that shiny thing, and then 6 months later, you're like, this is dull. Oh, look at that over there. Like, it never ends. If you chase that life, it never ends.
Well, that's where it's like,
that's what Jess and I are getting.
I know sometimes the job is the background. The job is okay. It's fine, but that's the background. It's when that background is bringing you down to a point that you don't appreciate the people in your life, the things in your life that you used to appreciate. That's where the character breaks down, and no one wants to read the story or watch that show. And that's where you don't even want to fucking keep writing the story. That's the breakdown, in my opinion. This conversation, there's no right answer to how you live your life. You can have a great job, because I can rattle them off. Grass is not always greener.
Sometimes it's greener because it's fertilized with bullshit.
If you're living the farm life. I love this, and I don't know if I can find it on the screen here, but I gotta give him a shout out. Ray Cheshire says, in your story, you're the writer, not a player.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a t-shirt right there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan.
That's ridiculous.
Don't rely on someone else to write your story.
Write it. That's what the whole point is that is, you have to appreciate that you are the main character in your story. You can support other people. Like I said, you can be the supporting player. You can be the supporting actor or actress. You can do all that stuff, but you have a backstory. And that's one of the things, if we're going to continue, like if I'm going to continue this metaphor, is that sometimes the reason that the supporting actor or the supporting character doesn't hit home, because no one gets it, because they're just there.
That's what I do.
But if you, what do you,
with my job, like I'm in a support role. I'm not a sales rep. I'm not the one that's going out making these big monster deals that are making the company a bunch of money.
No, but if you leave, that's when your supporting role gets exposed, in my opinion. If you walk away from that, you're not replaceable all the time. That's the whole thing, is that you do have a backstory, but to the flash in the pan person that clicks on that show, they're watching this guy making money and closing deals and whatever it is. I think of like Mad Men, like the flashy suits and blah blah blah. Yeah. It's like, well, if you watch the show long enough, they realize that gets boring too. And now it's like, what's this developing character over here? Now you're the main character, and you overpower the show. That's when you win the awards. That's when you actually overshadow the person in the spotlight, purely because you have done enough and been genuine that the audience identifies with you more than the person that they originally started watching the show for or reading the book for. That's the spinoff that does better, in my opinion.
I'm trying to think of a spinoff that actually worked.
Frasier.
Good one.
Oh, yeah.
Good one.
Cheers was good. Amazing. Frasier was arguably or debatably
that was a good
as
show.
Good or as successful, if not more.
I would say as.
Oh,
but I'm saying, like, that's like, he was a guy at the bar, and then Kelsey Grammer started Frasier, and all of a sudden Emmys and success and money and everything else. There's your story. It can happen. I think it can't. And I think that's the goal for everyone. I think no matter where you're at in life, or your social circle, or your job, or your relationship, the idea is to, again, be the main character in your life, and do not sacrifice for someone else to take the spotlight always, unless that's what you're comfortable with and you still are cool. That's that steady job. You don't have to be the CEO. You don't have to be the flashy actor of the show.
Right.
I actually said that.
Solid work makes you happy. Cool. Keep doing it as long as the benefits outweigh the workload, the grind. That's okay.
I actually said something like that when I was having
The Fonz from Happy Days. Thank you.
When I was saying when I had a one-on-one with one of our VPs, like they had asked me, like
Laverne and Shirley is another one.
They were asking me, like, what do you want to be in the company? I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, they're like, do you want to be like in? And she mentioned like the VP of the company.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I don't want to be in that role, even though that person's second in command of the company and makes a shit ton more than I do. I'm like, no, I don't want to be in that role. They're like, really? You don't? I'm like, because that's not what my strengths are.
And that's
like that's not what I would excel at. There are other people who their gifts and their abilities would be more suited for that role. I know what my strengths are. I know what my gifts are. I need to find something that brings those out and allows me to do those more, because that's how I shine. It's like the analogy of fitting a square peg in a round hole. Like, if I'm a square peg,
you gotta mash it like Shannon's.
Push it in.
If I'm a square peg, don't try and force me into a round hole. Find a square hole, because I'll fit better there because of what I'm good at.
Well, I see where Bobby and Ray were saying, always be the supporting. I'm thinking more of like in a marriage role. Like, my wife was the supporting role while I was in school.
Yeah, I'm not saying when. So
and
use your best judgment. Perfect.
She supported the whole thing while I was in school. Now it's my turn that I'm in my career doing my thing, and now I'm allowing her to go chase her next step in life. So you know what I mean? Like, you can support and step back in a relationship term, but I think they're more talking about just in your life in general.
Yeah, Ray says, how the fuck do you have a supporting role in your own life? That's not what I'm saying. That you have to be the main character in your story. That's the difference. Like, Ray, what I'm saying is that I'm of the opinion that too often people actually may have that mentality. That's the whole point of part 2 tonight, is that, and for those the first time listening to the podcast, this is not the whiskey and cigar review part of it. Clearly, if you've been listening more than 5 minutes, thank you. If you tuned out, you're like, I was tuning in to learn about whiskey and cigars. This is the reality of whiskey and cigars. This is where it leads in your life. So you're welcome. I'm sorry.
This happens in every cigar shop and bar. But
how the fuck do you? This is direct quote. How the fuck do you have a supporting role in your own life? That's a very fair question.
It is,
because I am of the opinion that a lot of people wake up and live their life as being, in their mindset, a supporting role for their job, their spouse, their significant other, whatever it is. If you're single, you wake up, I got to go back into work, I got to go be this position, and people don't appreciate me. I gotta wake up, I gotta pay the bills for these people in my life. I say these people because my significant other and or my kids. Start being the main character and making your daily decisions. Because again, I feel like I slipped on that. And anymore, I'm going to stand up for myself, and I'm going to take that role of the main character and hopefully learn my lessons for better or worse. And I know that people respect me, and I know that people respect you guys more because you are following that path. You don't know all the answers. You don't know choose your own adventure. You don't know what the best move is all the time. But you have open ears, you have an open mouth, which anymore is overused. The open mouth. but do not be silent in the background all the time, because that is when Ray was on point, that you are the supporting character, that you're just in the background.
Right. Yeah.
No, figure out your own story. You can show up in the background of a show or of a story and just be like, I wonder what's going on with that guy.
You can be the background of someone else's story, but you got to be the main character in yours.
And it's fine if no one wants to watch your show or read your book. That's cool. Are you cool with it? That's the bigger question. All right, so this is the part of part 2, and I want to thank all you guys for being a part of it. We could talk about this round and round all night, and I appreciate all you guys listening. Bobby, Ray, Ryan,
Bobby, I'm coming to see you, brother.
Alexander,
Ian, wasn't there an Ian there?
Ian, Diana, several people. You guys share it. Bring your people that are important to you into this conversation. We're going to do it every Wednesday, for better or worse. You may not always like the topic or the whiskeys or anything else, but Shannon, thank you for being part of this.
Oh, absolutely.
Closing remarks. Be the main character.
I think it's like everything we talked about. Just you got to figure out your role in your life, figure out your strengths, figure out your weaknesses. There's nothing wrong with either one of those, because your weakness is somebody else's strength and that you can learn from and pull from. But to be your main character, you have to take charge of your life, make those hard decisions to move forward when it could be detrimental, but you don't know. We don't know page 56. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We have to make those hard decisions. If they don't play out, they don't play out. I've started living that you never lose or you never fail. You always learn, and that's a hell of a lesson. There's always lessons in failure.
Say it again.
There's always lessons in failure.
Before that,
What's that?
Scratch it back. You never what?
You never lose or you never fail. There's decisions, right?
Yeah.
You never fail. There's always a lesson in something that you fail at. It's up to you to take that lesson and move to the next step, to page 34 or 36. Life is a lesson. It's up to you to take those lessons and move forward in it. You could lose, and then you could sit there and cry on your little hill, and you can die on that little hill, or you can get your ass up and move to the next hill.
I like that.
And I believe that's what life is. I'm learning that more and more. Chances are everything.
Yeah.
Chances are everything. You have to take a chance at life. And if you don't take a chance, you're always stuck. That's my take.
Nate.
this conversation actually made me think of the movie Ready Player One. I don't know if you,
that's a good movie.
Great throwback to all the 80s stuff. Yeah.
That's
Steven
a good
Spielberg.
movie.
Yeah, it's a good one. Check
Yeah.
it out. It's a good one.
even more recent than that. Like
No, I know, but they threw it back. So
oh
Steven
yeah, all the
Spielberg
80s sound,
actually-
yeah, the 80s
So
soundtrack.
he directed that, and he threw it
Yeah.
back to all the movies he was involved in.
Yeah.
Ready Player One.
I love that movie. Just can't stand it, but I love it. But no, I mean, it's that thing where everyone in there can pick and choose their own adventure, what they do. They can play the safe route and just go in there and live a life that's not theirs within that video game, or they can actually take a chance and do something. And one of the things I'd written down in preparation was something that kind of touched on earlier. Do what you want, but you got to be prepared to put in the work to get there. Because it's not going to just be thrown at you. Opportunities aren't necessarily just given to you just for getting by or just doing what's expected. Like,
Yeah.
If you want to make a career change, guess what? You need to put in the work to get there.
Take steps towards that.
Yeah, like what Shannon talked about. Like, Shannon wanted to change careers. No one just said, "Hey, you want to be a barber? Cool. You have no education, no experience whatsoever. Come cut hair in my shop."
Right.
Like that didn't happen. Like, he had to put in the work, and he had to make sacrifices. Your family, made sacrifices to get there, and you feel better off for it. Your household feels better off for it. So there's a lot of people, and it's a mentality. I think people want the success in life, but they don't want to do the things required to get there.
Especially now, yeah.
They don't want to put in the work.
100%.
They don't want to put in the sweat equity. They just expect that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's like, Steve, you didn't. No one gave you this house or your car. Like, you actually had to. You actually had to put work into it and save up money, and
I had some help with the house, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but that whoever helped you, they had to work for it.
They did.
Yeah. It wasn't just thrown upon them. Like, if you want something, you got to go out and earn it. Don't expect it to be handed to you. Like, you have to take charge.
Don't wait.
If you want it, fine. Go out there, make it happen.
So I gotta tell you, and thank you guys. I think this was a topic that, as a lot of the part 2 topics, I didn't know where it was going to go.
That's what's great about it.
Somehow
that's the beauty of it.
Somehow we had more viewers on part 2 again, which it's probably a timing thing. But I hope you guys share this.
It's all this right here.
It's a beautiful bald head.
Maybe I shouldn't have cut my hair
Thanks.
today.
So I look at this being the main character in your own life, that I was one of them. And I think I would love for just once, especially in part 2, right? Like the bourbon, the whiskeys, like Tripp, thank you very much for being a part of this. And who knows if some of these whiskey guys that are just the masters of their own industry tune in for part 2. This is something that we set ourselves out to do this differently. And it doesn't always help with viewers, but I would really encourage, if you listen to this and you listen to some of the podcasts that I listen to, some of the national ones, this is an everyday, every kind of guy and girl podcast. Part 2 especially.
I love part 2.
I know. If you are the main character in your own life, which is the topic tonight, treat your own day. Treat tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday. Right? Today is Thursday. We're in Vietnam. But treat today or tomorrow like you are wanting to tune in to the next episode. The cliffhangers are bullshit. I hate it when like a season ends.
Who shot JR?
Jesus Christ! Like who shot JR? The season ends, and you're like now anymore. It's like choose your own adventure. I'm like hitting like I pause it to see how many minutes are left in the last episode of the season. I'm like, oh, they're gonna fucking screw me again. Like, this sucks. Take that as motivation, but do it maybe from a safer standpoint. You're not selling bestsellers here. You're living your own life. But I got to tell you, I would love for you to look at tomorrow as when I wake up. If I am fortunate enough to wake up tomorrow, and we talk about the finite time, and it's not depressing. It's a reality check.
Yeah.
I don't care if, again, Liz turned 26 today. And when I was 26, I had a different mentality than I do now.
Oh, yeah.
We don't always see eye to eye, but I wish, and I'm not giving myself credit, but I wish I had a very close friend. And it was later when I was 30 or so that I had close friends that were in their 40s and 50s and 60s. And that was the cigar culture.
Yep.
And I saw people that succeeded in their struggles. I saw people that failed in their struggles. And I saw people that rebounded in their struggles. So this is where I look at this as if you're the main character and you appreciate yourself as the main character, that you want to, as Ray said, you write your own story. You're not the supporting cast. To someone else, you might be the supporting cast member, but to you got to be the main character. You gotta fill your cup up. You have to look forward. And we talked about choose your own adventure books, which I don't think exists anymore.
That was the greatest one ever.
You didn't see it coming, did you?
No.
Yeah. So you can trust your gut, but the beauty of the choose your own adventure stories, especially in the initial part, is that when you fell into that snake pit, you're like, well, I'm not going down that route. But if you go down the road of, I get a pay raise, I get a pay cut, I take another step forward and I buy a house with this person in my choose your own adventure book, or they break up with me, you really have to take every decision with a level of importance that you are being true to yourself as the main character.
Yeah.
Because I got to tell you, when I read a choose your own adventure book, I didn't treat myself as the main character. I wanted to win. And this is where we get back to it, is that when you get to that point where you are the main character and that you want to read your own story to Ryan Jones out there, he says, if I wrote a book, it would be why? ? Fuck you, that's why. I'd probably write it now. I wouldn't write it back in my 20s. Bobby Hirschman says, well, he's rambling. Love you guys. Bobby, this is the closing remarks. You got to listen to the whole thing. I think that you got to appreciate yourself. And there's a lot of self-love there that you guys deserve to have your own story written. And you are the writer, as Ray said. I appreciate all you guys listening. This is something that I will continue to struggle with. And I know I'm not alone in that, but thanks to our sponsors, Tinder Box at Easton, Altadis USA, BS Cigar Company, and also patreon.com/bourbonbs podcast. You guys make this happen. And there's only one reason that we have thousands of people listen to this thing where we hang out in my garage. This is silly. You want to write your own story, start your own podcast, and just set up a laptop in your garage, and maybe you get like 5 people listening. That's a story that, and Shannon, of all people, Nate, you're here every week. I appreciate your hard work with this podcast. Dustin also, who's not here tonight. Sean, you've been a big supporter, who's in the audience. He's been a part of this second part. Shannon, thank you very much for being a part of this and exposing it. And to you guys out there listening on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, everything else, this is I hope you guys get as much out of this as that I do.
Oh, 100%, dude. I love it.
I know there's a reason you guys keep coming back into the garage, and there has been a point, I got to be honest, when I look at this, there have been times where I'm like, you know what, this is probably our last podcast. I'm tired of it. No, just because I get tired of trying to create something that if people aren't enjoying it, I have to remind myself that, again, as the main character in my life, that I get something from it.
Oh, yeah.
And if I don't, 6 months down the road, if I say tonight's our last podcast, 6 months down the road, I'm searching for a podcast. I'm searching for people to come over to the garage. I'm searching for people to talk to that are all over the country and other countries. I value all of this. That's being the main character in your own life. So, guys, cheers. Thank you, everyone out there. Happy Whiskey Wednesday.
Happy Whiskey Wednesday.
Enjoy the rest of the week.
Love you, Bobby.
Everyone enjoy your night.